This is the Bible of the electrogenic cell. It's not just the best book ever written on the subject, it's the only book ever written on this subject. Brought to you by supporters of Christ.
Being vegan is a lifestyle. It's not a trend. It's not a diet. It is doing less harm or the least harm to self, to the planet, and therefore others and every living being, including Earth itself. And there are other things that we can also do regarding not using plastic. Diet is directly affected to our spirituality and how we feel, our vibrations, our frequency, our energy. And if you want to improve your well-being, whether it's mentally, fight depression, the energy that we consume, whether it is TV or social media or even what we put into our bodies directly, affect us. But our energy also affects everything in our lives, our finances, the people around us, our family. And so therefore it's a total human experience. It's the spiritual, it's the mental. It has everything to do with your pineal gland when you're consuming electric foods, pure, straight from the tree without pesticides and GMOs, as natural as possible. Just getting to nature, which is very hard in this day and age. Getting back to maybe how we used to live outside of a manufactured life, even the pollution, the air. Getting back to the purest form of self and what we used to consume and what the human body is where we should be going. Number one, to improve the vibration of this entire earth, to think clearly, to treat each other better, and to do better. And it starts with diet, an assessment of self, but also just being aware of all of the things that are out here harming us, how we harm each other.
Some of the changes that I've experienced being vegan, I'm no longer anemic. I'm intaking so many more healthy foods, obviously vegetables, nuts, greens, seeds that are iron rich. My doctor said, what are you doing? You're no longer anemic. So that's the first benefit. And I thought you had to have meat to have protein and get your iron. And that's
You know your business better than anyone.
All right, they bombed us. They bombed us. Hold on, let's see if we can get over this. They definitely bombed us. They definitely jumped right off the top ropes and got us. Let's go. Wait a minute. We got to stop the video and everything. Let's go. Let's go. WWWW. Man, that is a solid W. That is a super W. And I definitely appreciate the red burgundy super chats. Listen, we way ahead of the learning curve. We way ahead of the learning curve. The clip I'm playing from Maya, the clip that I'm playing from Maya is if you hear her whole interview, which I don't have time to play the whole interview, you could literally, it's like she took, like you could go back through our videography and grab the sentences, even some of my jokes she retelling. You know what I'm saying? Even some of my jokes she retelling, like, yeah, vegan food, can't be, vegan food's not always healthy because blah, blah. Like she even retelling my jokes like it's crazy. But I love it. You know what I'm saying? I love it. It's not, and to take it to another step, it's not necessarily her sitting at home watching on the live stream. It's Amsu, Amun, and Chef Aki, right? Shout out to Amsu, Amun, and Chef Aki. those are earlier students of mine. You know what I'm saying? And they got Atlanta buzzing. And Amsu's son is 21 Savage. So, you know what I'm saying? So they were able to get to like the Breakfast Club and some of the different types of people where you see now, you know, Maya is crediting her health and her transformation with, you know, electric food and pineal gland and blah, 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 blah. I would just like to fine tune it because everybody has kind of gotten away from the science part. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's kind of got away from the science, and the promotion is still going on trend, and it's still got a lot of fluff mixed in. And in order for us to really take this thing to the moon where it's supposed to go, we got to really batten down the hatch and get to the science part. You know what I'm saying? Like we got to really get to the you know what I mean?
Oh, I know what I'm supposed to do. I know what I'm supposed to do. There we go. Good thing I have my grocery shopping list. Don't leave home without it.
Listen. Well, the thing is, there's only there's only me. You know, this guy's still running around, but nobody's doing the actual work to move the chains forward. Like, so there's guys on other platforms and old students of mine and, you know, guys that steal the information, and there's all kinds of, you know, and they're promoting, they're doing their thing. They're building businesses, they feeding their babies, they're selling products, they teaching, but the thing is, where it gets different at, right? Where it gets really different is I teach people how to fish, as so to speak, right? Instead of giving people fish, I teach people how to fish, right? Because I'm the one, the fountainhead producing the new research. So folks can teach, but there's a difference. You know what I'm saying? We're still over here, and that's thanks to y'all. That's thanks to stuff like this. You know what I'm saying? That's thanks to stuff like this. That's thanks to people going to the website, putting in their orders, and you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? That's thanks to, you know what I'm saying, the Osborns and Tikas and Ambers and, you know what I'm saying, like the Bayots and, you know, just all of the regular family that keeps the lights on. So we are able to continue to produce the research, you know, even like this. Let me show y'all something. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. I seen this. I was like, wait a minute. Hold up. Hold up. What we got going on? Like, wait a minute. Let me see if I can see it on here. Okay, boom. Shout out to my guy Thanos too. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my guy Thanos. Yep. Shout out to M4120. You know what I'm saying? Like all of the people that really hold it down and keep the lights on. But you see that? When is Black's Anatomy being released? Black's Anatomy is already released. Black's Anatomy is already released. So make sure you have, you have certain books. Make sure you have certain books. Don't get caught lacking in these YouTube streets. Right? Let's go to Amazon real quick so we can look at the so all of these books are out, right? The Black's Anatomy for Children book is out. Black's Anatomy for Children. Black's Anatomy for Children is out, volume 1, right? And you can get that in Chinese, French, or Spanish. Chinese, French, or Spanish. Yeah, you can get that book in Chinese, French, or Spanish, or all three. You can get all three. Feel free to get all three: the Chinese, the French, and the Spanish version. Right? All of them are in English. All three of the books are in English. That's standard, right? But they have little but they have translations to them. You know what I'm saying? Chase, Chloe, and Caleb are doing Chinese in school now. So they was on a thing with, Dad, this is our, these are our books. We do all this stuff for the adults, but these are ours. We want to do this our way. So there's no plain English version. You know what I'm saying? The books all come in another language. So you read it, it's like the whole chapter is in English, and then it has translations and stuff. So you don't have to use the books for Spanish or Chinese or whatever the case may be. Right? But it's there, especially if the book's exciting. So I would suggest the books for everybody, adults, everybody. But, if you're going to get the book for your daughter, your son, your nephews, whoever, it's just a dope vibe for them to be exposed to something else. You know what I'm saying? Even if they choose to skip it, even if they choose not to read the Spanish part or not to read the French or the Chinese or whatever, they might look at you crazy like, Ma, Chinese, really? It's there. They was exposed. They have it in the stash. And who knows, down the line, maybe they might go back and pick it up, right? Or while they in school, they might have to take Spanish or French or Chinese. They got that in the stash. You know what I'm saying? That's something to help with whatever they got going on in school. So, those are out. You know what I'm saying? And we're going heavy. We're going heavy in these. These books, again, are not to teach language. These are not language learning books, right? The books are for the science. We got to get this science to the babies. This is Black's Anatomy for Children. So it's really like the Russian doll. You know what I'm saying? It's like lessons inside lessons wrapped in a story. You know what I'm saying? Like the ancestors taught us to do. You know what I'm saying? So we got the science hidden inside the story. The story is action. It's just a regular, mythos, right? So we got the story. The family goes to Kemet. The family goes to Kemet. You know, King Solomon, king of Kemet. In the story, King Solomon is the king of Kemet, you know, and he invites Rich Abs and the children because they're starting up a school over there, you know, advanced, and they want advanced science and history and blah, blah, blah. And so the children, you know, it's more about the children, you know what I'm saying? The children is in school and they start going through these adventures. They teacher get kidnapped and, you know, it's wow. They come to find out the teacher got kidnapped by a big, you know, drug company, a big pharmaceutical company, you know, that's making trillions of dollars selling heart medication. And, you know, because the gym teacher was teaching them like some martial arts from 5,000 years ago to, you know what I'm saying, to stop cardiovascular disease. And they start digging into it and, you know, it gets crazy, you know what I'm saying? So, but, so the science is you know, the science, the anatomy and all that is all, you know, layered into the story. And then part 2, which we're working on, will get even deeper into the science and the history and all of that. And the language is just an added layer. The language is just an added layer. So if somebody's already bilingual, or if they're taking some classes on something, it'll just be something extra to help, you know, with whatever they already got going on. But it's not like you're going to buy this book and then all of a sudden you're going to learn Chinese. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, so Black's Anatomy, right? Black's Anatomy is definitely available. Black's Anatomy is definitely available, right? So shout out to Thanos for keeping the lights on, but the Black's Anatomy book's available. The water book is available. The protein book is available. And of course, the books for the class are available. You need to have that kitchen chemistry book. You need to have that kitchen chemistry book, right? You need to have, obviously, the book for the class, right? But the kitchen chemistry book, like when we see this clip of Maya talking about, let me put back the clip on again. Hopefully we don't get bombed by YouTube ads again. But when we see her going through and they like flashing the foods, that's cool. That's drip. You know what I'm saying? That's style. That caters to like a certain demographic of people that, you know, like people selling, you know what I'm saying? Like that's the chef side of the veganism, you know, flashing the colors and the different sauces and the different veggies sliced together and the lentils and the, you know, showing the pigments. The pigments get you salivating because your mind is hardwired for pigment and fiber. You know, showing the seasonings and the, you know, and that's dope. Like I can't, let me see if I can, let me see something. That's dope to have those, like just to even, you see what I'm saying? Like to show the color and the seasoning of the food and the, you see what I'm saying? Because that's what's so you know, that's what's so mouth watering. Like that's the thing that gets you. That's the thing that gets you. Like when you see that spread like that. When you see that spread like that with that food laid out. That's what gets you. But it's another level. It's another level to be able to go, okay, here's the kitchen chemistry book, right? It's another level to understand it. And I'm just going to flip open to a random page. Like, let's just find something. Okay, natural fiber, right? Or black beans. I said, I'm going to just flip open to something. And then now I'm getting choosy. I got favorites, right? But what we did in the kitchen chemistry book in preparation, because prepping for the class. So nothing was necessarily happenstance, right? But prepping for the class, we went into the chemistry, something that's never been done. We went into the chemistry of each food, and then we layered it out. Seven levels to understanding each specific food, right? So level 1, fiber, right? The macro level, right? So the basic overview, right? Types of fiber: soluble fiber, insoluble fiber, resistant starch, which is a new type of complex carbohydrate. Well, it's obviously not new because it's been here since the beginning of time, but it's brand new in terms of research. It's brand new in terms of understanding. When we go through our timeline, right? Like in the Black's Anatomy book, when we go through our timeline, or like we did in the article, that we went through the other night. I guess that was week 6, day 2, right? Resistant starch wasn't calculated in. Like, so 1910 is where nutrition starts, but nutrition has not ended yet. Nutrition has not ended yet. We're still discovering categories of food, right? Categories of food are still being discovered, and how they work. Like, nutrition is still being discovered. We're still in the we're still in the infancy, or I wouldn't say infancy, but if we go elementary, middle school, high school, college, we haven't even got college, university level yet with nutrition. Like, we still in, 1910 begins the period of nutrition. So we're still in the infancy stage. I would say maybe elementary school or middle school at best. We haven't really got to high school, university, college level yet with understanding nutrition. So resistant starch is something completely new, because resistant starch couldn't be understood until the understanding of the microbiome, which is relatively, we maybe 20 years into the game of really understanding the impact of the microbiome. So we're super brand new with that. And that's what resistant starch is. And so one of my predictions in terms of resistant starch is colon cancer, right? There's going to be 5, 10 years, maybe a little longer. It depends on if people focus their attention in that area, but pause, that might be crazy. But 5, 10, 15 years, maybe, in the advances in understanding and preventing colon cancer is going to come from resistant starch, because resistant starch is basically carbohydrates, which is another reason why it's stupid to have these diets where you avoiding carbs. But because what happens is you got bacteria all in your booty, right? all down into your colon. You got bacteria all throughout your body, all over your body, all through your body, but specifically in this context, in your colon, right? In your booty. So these bacteria, they have to be fed. If they're not, they become like a rancid population. Like they living in poverty, so they start robbing and stealing. Just think of it that way, right? You have to feed them, and they want a specific type of complex carbohydrate that has now been classified as resistant starches, and it falls up under the fiber, right? It falls up under the fiber. And when you have these types of fiber, the microbiome feels good. They eat well. And because they eat well, they produce secondary and tertiary things, waste products for them, but nutrition for you, right? The same way the plant. Oxygen is a waste product for a plant, but it's the number one. It's the number one most nutritious thing for you to have is oxygen, right? Oxygen is more important than water because without oxygen, there is no water, right? So water may be more important than oxygen, but there's no oxygen without it's water, oxygen. We just gonna leave them right there, king and queen, maybe but that's the top of the tops, right? But that's the process of how symbiotic relationships work, right? The next man's treasure, one man's junk is the next man's treasure, that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? And so that's how it goes. We feed the bacteria things that our body cannot eat, right? So our junk is the bacteria's treasure. They consume our junk and then produce our treasure, right? So we pay them and they pay us back, right? If we don't feed them, they pay us back another type of way, right? And so colon cancer and a variety of other things brew from not having a healthy colon. But anyway, natural fiber, first level, right? Soluble fiber, insoluble fiber, resistant starch, oligosaccharides, which are things like inulin, right? They sell inulin a lot of places as a prebiotic. Non-starch polysaccharides, which are beta glucans, right? And beta glucans had a window where it was a vibe. You know what I'm saying? Like beta glucans was a vibe for a hot minute where people were selling. They probably still are right now. Somewhere right now, somebody is dropping a video on YouTube as a health guru telling you the benefits of beta glucans and how beta glucans reverse metabolic disease and blah, 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 blah. Not saying that they're wrong, but I'm just saying before you get, $150 bottle of beta glucans, you know what I'm saying? You might just want to know that you can have some oatmeal. I'm just saying, you might just want to know because oatmeal is $1. What is that? I think it's oatmeal. It's on sale. We just got a bunch of oatmeal. School starting up. We just got a bunch of oatmeal on sale. $2 and something, $1.79, $2.29, something like that. I'm just saying. Right? So then we go from level 1, we go to level 2, which is the molecular breakdown, right? The molecular breakdown, which gives you, in terms of fiber. Now, this is going to be done for all of the foods, but in terms of fiber, this is where we get back to the GLP-1 conversation, right? So if you have this book already and you want to be, I'm on page 209 right now. So if you have this book, I'm on page 209. But so when we get to level 2, we get to the molecular breakdown, kind of what happens when your body's digesting the food and or digesting the nutrients, right? So the macro level 1 is going to give you an idea of what nutrients are in the food. Then level 2 is kind of like moving into application, like what is going on. So you start to get into the production of short chain fatty acids, butyrate, acetate, propionate, right? How fiber low key, well, not even low key, but just something that probably should be discussed more. How fiber is the fuel source for lowering cholesterol, right? Fiber is the thing that helps. Fiber is the thing that helps to check the cholesterol. So I guess that's another fascinating part of the Osiris story. That's another fascinating part of the Osiris story, because, you know, the perfect black, which when the Greeks came to learn in Kemet, conquer / learn, right? They took the concept of Osiris, the perfect black, and in terms of learning, they translated that into the Greek, which gave us you, right? The word you is a Greek term. And Greek and Latin share a lot of roots in terms of science, right? In terms of scholastic, you know, well, anatomy is going to be heavily trenched in Latin, you know what I'm saying? But a lot of history and philosophy, Greek, right? But the etymology of you is perfect, complete, or good. And then melanos is dark or black. So the term melanin stems from those roots, right? But we know that Osiris or Wusia was always depicted as green, right? Because of the relationship between human pigment, black, and plant pigment, green, and the symbiotic nature, the dependency, the codependency, right? Like I was just talking about, the plants waste oxygen. We turn around and waste carbon dioxide for the plants, like that. They can't live without us. We can't live without each other within reason, right? Because the plants might have been here first, right? But another story, right? But that's how a symbiotic relationship works. And so a part of the story with Osiris is that when he goes to the underworld, right? The underworld underneath, right? That's why if you read the books, you'll know that it's not like a mystical place, because when he goes to the underworld, his skin produces wheat, barley, and grains that the people that are still living pick and eat and cook. That becomes the idea of communion. So communion in church, it comes from the story of Osiris, Osar, Wusia. You know, him, you know, as the green man, and grain coming from him. So that's where the ideas of bread, right? Unleavened bread, or the wafer of communion. That's where those concepts come from. Kemet. Those are all, the Bible is a Kemetic book. That's what I'm saying. Like even the other night, I got some comments. I don't know if we'll be able to get to those, but I got some comments from when we was watching the debate. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, I guess I was rage baiting some folks. Some folks sent me some messages like, yo, Inky, how you going to say while you was laughing at, you know what I'm saying? Like, listen, I love Christianity. You know what I'm saying? I love Islam. You know, I can separate the malicious history of Islam in the early days of Islam from, like what it does for people today, as an institution in terms of, now, obviously not the people blowing up, planes or whatever, but, like the people who have transformed their life visibly that I've seen, what I'm saying? Like wow in the neighborhood or just undisciplined that have used that as a vehicle for discipline, right? To make themselves better people, or Christianity, or, my dad was a super Catholic. Wow, he was thugging too. He was thugging and and he was Catholic. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I don't have a problem with institutions or religion. I love the idea, the concept, so I'm not mocking Christianity in any shape, form, or fashion. I'm just saying, as a person that lived the debate scene, if not for us, there may not even be a YouTube version of where these Christians and Muslims argue. That may not even exist if not for us. So I'm not even knocking the debate scene, you know what I'm saying, at all. Shout out to Sa, you know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is, from a more matured standpoint, I can look at debates, certain types of debates. I could look at a certain type of debate and I can see what happens when neither debater has, like the science that they need to really elucidate on what they're, you know what I'm saying? Like I can see it. And the more you get comfortable with this information, the more you'll be able to see it, right? Like even the idea of communion or unleavened bread being concepts that come from Kemet. Somebody's going to hear that and be like, oh, yeah, we talked about that 1,000 times. But somebody else is going to hear this class and go, what? That's crazy. And then they're going to look up on the internet, bop. They're going to type in, Osiris, 7th hour, skin becomes grain, or whatever, anything. And, the Google demons, shout out to Saint HJ, the Google demons will supply an endless slew of references to Osiris's skin becoming the first grains, and then obviously Osiris's blood as wine. So you have the wine and you have the wafer, the cracker, or the grains, or the wine and the unleavened bread. That's all Kemetic. That's all Kemetic. And it doesn't make sense. It's out of place if you watch the back and forth and you don't know that the original, like the Old Testament, it was written in Kemet. Not in Egypt either. It was written in Kemet on the island of Khnum, or the Elephantine Island. You know what I'm saying? By Kemetic priests. So then it makes sense, like, oh, well, this is what this is. You know what I'm saying? So, but beyond just the religious back and forth, you know what I'm saying, just the science part where they were talking about the divine essence, right? They're arguing over the divine essence, but neither party has defined divine essence. Because once you define divine essence, then the conversation gets a lot easier, right? And then instead of arguing, maybe they can invite each other to service. You know what I'm saying? The Christians can go hang out on Friday with the Muslims. The Muslims can go hang out with the Christians on Sunday. Learn something, right? And learn something. But anyway, you know how I be getting lost in these conversations. So level 3. Level 3, right? So just to recap, because I segue off and start talking your head off, and then we somewhere else than where we were supposed to be, right? So I was saying the book breaks down food chemistry, right? And so level 1 kind of gives you the nutrients or the categories of nutrients that's in a specific food. Level 2 gives you the molecular breakdown and kind of some of the digestive pathways of that. And then level 3 gives you biochemical pathways, right? So after we break the food down, like in terms of fiber, we list the different types of fiber. Then we go through the process of how that fiber is digested, right, by the microbiome, and what are the things that they then produce and give back to the body, right? Then we go through the biochemical pathways. So in terms of fiber, how these short chain fatty acids become your satiety hormones, right? How they activate the L cells, right? GLP-1 or PYY, right? GLP-1 is particularly more like a fiber thing. PYY is more like a protein thing. But then ghrelin, AMPK, right? Butyrate, right? AMPK, adenosine monophosphate kinase, right? Butyrate, histone acetylation, right? And then now here's another pathway that fiber should be discussed more, right? So fiber lowers cholesterol, but fiber also fights cancer. Fiber also fights cancer. So this is something that's also important that people kind of overlook, right? Fiber fights cancer, right? So butyrate levels go up, histone acetylation goes up, and then you have anti-cancer or anti-onco gene activation. You have endotoxin protection. You have GPR 41 and 43 activation, right? So we go through the biochemical pathways, right? Then, just in case we're starting to sound like Charlie Brown teacher, boom, bom, boom, bom, bom, boom, bom, you know, level 4 is what those things do, right? The genetic effects, the cellular effects, right? How those biochemicals produced and how the pathways that those biochemicals activate, how those turn into effects for the body. So it's like we take you from the food all the way down to breaking the food down to its smallest components, and then we walk you back up, right? So now level 4 is how those biochemicals and biochemical pathways affect genetics. And then level 5 is disease, right? Level 5 is disease now. So if somebody just wants you to give them the quick, but make it make sense. Okay. So level 5 shows how fiber fights colon cancer, fights obesity and metabolic syndrome, fights type 2 diabetes, fights autoimmune disease, fights neurological diseases, and then fights heart diseases, right? That's level 5. Level 6, comedic naturopathy, right? So now level 6 gives you the comedic naturopathy application, where you basically using food therapeutically, like how to use the food therapeutically to heal people with different situations, right? So you're not stuck contacting somebody else like, yo, such and such is going on with my neck. No, you have the books. Right? You're supposed to have the books. Right? You're supposed to have the books. Right? So you go through the biochemical pathways, the disease pathways, the personal application, or the comedic naturopathy. And then you have mitochondria, right? the mitochondria integration, right? How these things impact the mitochondria, right? How these things impact the mitochondria, meaning how these things specifically affect your body's ability to produce the energy that animates your body, or the spirit, or if you want to phrase it, you know, how you get into the quantum aspects of nutrition, right? After you leave, once you've taken the food and you've broken it down through digestion, right? Because technically that's what you're doing, right? Because you got the food is basically big, you know, compounds and molecules, you know, so you're going through a process of breaking it down, breaking it down, breaking it down, breaking it down to the atom, to the atomic level, right? And then you continue breaking it down through beta oxidation and the Krebs cycle all the way down to electrons and protons. And once you leave the beta oxidation Krebs cycle space, you're no longer in the world of Newton. Now you're in the world of, you know, quantum mechanics. You're in the world of pigment, electrons, protons, and photons, right? So we break every single food down that way, right? That's kind of why the book is a little thick. It's a big book, it's a thick book, but it's information packed, so that you're not just looking at something like this, you know, without understanding. You know what I'm saying? Where you just seeing the colors and the rich foods and the pigments, and you know these things are good for you. You know these things are good for you. You don't even have to know anything to know these things are good for you. When you see them, something in you just knows, like, no, yeah, those are the right things. Those are the right things to eat. Yeah, look at my dimples. Y'all see my dimples? Y'all playing with this information. I hope y'all not at home playing, right? Shout out to Colette. Colette told me she in Atlanta and she's starting a little transformation challenge group. So shout out to Colette. Everybody should be getting busy, right? Yeah, everybody should be getting busy. Everybody should be starting their study groups. Everybody should be starting their study groups, whether it's 2 people, 10 people, or 20 people. Everybody should be starting their study groups, right? That'll help you with the books. That'll help you with the books. You know what I'm saying? Because somebody can have this book, you know, somebody can have this book, and, you know, y'all can be putting it down Friday nights, y'all, you know, or Saturday, whatever. Y'all put it together where y'all have a challenge. Y'all challenging each other to use this information to transform. Because look, if you see me smiling, you start to see, yeah, that's because Inky done lost 40. I done lost 40 pounds already. Now, I'm not playing. I hope y'all don't think I'm just talking on YouTube. Yeah. I was looking scary bad last, like, you know what I'm saying? It was a scary place for me. You know what I'm saying? So the best research comes from firsthand. You know, I'm like y'all guinea pig. Like I'm the guinea pig. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all better be getting busy. Y'all better be getting busy at home. Building y'all libraries, building y'all study groups. You know what I'm saying? Create the study group. And don't run from your haters. Do not run from the haters, detractors, non-believers. Do not run from them. Those are going to be the most powerful supporters you get. The person that's telling you that you might be bugging or crazy with, that's going to be the main person to support you. You just have to find the way to communicate with them and break through. And usually, if you can't break through with somebody with the information, you have to break through with your own personal discipline, with your own personal transformation. They got to see you lose some weight, or they got to see you lose some medication and get healthier. You know what I'm saying? Like, people close to me, you know, they saw You know, the doctors say my daughter wasn't gonna make it. They saw they saw after they said she wasn't gonna make it. They saw them say she'd never walk again. You know what I'm saying? Like they've seen crazy. You know, they've seen enough. You know, they've seen people. You know, even my aunt. You know, my adopted mom. You know, I call her my aunt, but you know, when she had cancer, she was like the first person that I helped with cancer. You know, the doctor said she had a few weeks left, and I didn't know not even 1/100th of the amount of information that I know now when I helped her. You know what I'm saying? That was more love and passion just driving me out of fear, you know, of losing the person that I loved the most at the time, you know. And that was kind of strict, crazy. Like that was crazy. But she got like almost another 10 years from the doctor saying she had a few weeks to a few months to live. Just by getting rid of Chinese. You know, she was into recreational drugs, but sobering up, getting rid of the Chinese food, the Pepsi, the candy bars, everything. You know, to the point where she, you know, later on she got, you know, tired of living like a nun. You know, and made some other decisions to go backwards. But, you know, you got to build up your study group. You know what I'm saying? You got to get the people around you rocking. Because once people see some stuff, they'll start to, you know, they'll start to come around, you know, and then you just got to have the information. That's why it's important that we're able to discuss the information with people from a variety of perspectives, you know, a quote unquote everyday pop culture, street kind of conversation, a fitness conversation, a scholastic, scholarly level conversation, a historical, even religious perspective, because it's life science. It's life science. It was the origin of science is life. You know what I'm saying? Life science is it.
Oh, I know what I'm supposed to do. I know what I'm supposed to do. There we go. Good thing I have my grocery shopping list. Don't leave home without it.
Ah. Man. Yeah, feel free to wash that on down. But, you know, I just thought it was dope for a variety of reasons anyway, you know, before we get to the info. To look at that clip, because we're going to review week 6. I got to check. I might have to redo the title of the video. Somebody hit me up like, oh, did we skip a day? Yeah, we kind of skipped a day. Because it's going to be like 2 days put together. You know what I'm saying? This is week 6, day 3, and week 7, day 1 put together. I'm saying. But I thought that clip of Maya was dope, obviously, because she's somebody I influence through people that I've influenced, not directly. You know what I'm saying? Like I influence Maya through other people. And that's another reason why it's important for you guys to use these books, build up your libraries, and then start to create your circles. You know, but also I hear her explaining what she got going on, and she doesn't understand what, you know. Yeah, she's talking pineal gland. I already know she probably listening to too much Chef Aki. Shout out to Chef Aki, but you know, Chef Aki she goes, you know, She gets into the ayahuasca and the chakras and the, you know, she goes somewhere else with it. But also I thought it was important because, you know, the video, just the visuals, it shows the food, you know, it shows the food and it shows the potential, because I think it was maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Actually, it might be longer than that now. Yeah, it might be 4 or 5 years ago. But anyway, we were having some conversations. This was like during, you know, during the pandemic. And I was saying that we're in a transformation time. It's a weird time period because overall, people's lifespans in America are regressing. The lifespan is shrinking, right? The lifespan. So like from the early 1900s, our lifespan on average kept getting longer and longer and longer. Within our lifetime is the first time that we see the lifespan actually go backwards because disease is getting so crazy, and mostly just metabolic disease and cellular, you know, mitochondria issues and you know, but the nugget is, you know, the jewel is there are people that are living way longer though. At the same time as overall we're living shorter, there's a small contingency of people who are expanding their lifespan, expanding their, not just their lifespan, but expanding their health span, right? So that's why eventually we came out with the Kitchen Chemistry book, Volume 1. Right, this is Kitchen Chemistry Volume 2 that I was holding up. But we came out with Kitchen Chemistry Volume 1. Then we came out with the Orthorexia book. And then we came out with the Autodidact book. Right, in those books, we were talking about the science of equating food to actual time. Right? Actual time. That's what the science of micro lives is. Micro lives is the unit of time that consuming a certain food gives you. Right? So there's a whole entire science that people don't even know about that that they pioneered to be able to equate, like, okay, if I eat this, you know, avocado or whatever the case may be, this would add, like almost like gamifying real life, like turning people's real lives into a video game. You know what I'm saying? Like you get a power pellet and you get some energy back. Like you fighting and people taking your energy down because you're getting hit. You know what I'm saying? But then you eat like a regenerative whatever, and then your energy goes back up, like that kind of. You know what I'm saying? But in real life. So, you know, smoking a cigarette takes this much time off your life. Like it does this type of damage to you, like 36 damage, smoked one cigarette, you know what I'm saying? Or ran 2 laps, you know, ran half a mile, you know, plus X amount of energy, you know what I'm saying? And you know, it's not an exact science, obviously, because people have different genetics. And then more profound than genetics, people have different microbiome constitution. People live in different environments, right? So there's a lot of nuances to it, but just to have a blueprint for how food and choices translates to time is crazy, right? So yeah, we talk about those in those books. The Kitchen Chemistry book, the Orthorexia book, and the Autodidact book, right? Remember what they look like?
The gods have blessed us. We must act now. We must act now to save us, to save our souls.
Dun, 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 dun. I love that Christmas beat. Right? But in those books, and then we go deep into the pigment and the fiber in those books. So if you don't have those books, make sure you go get those books. Like don't if you have to get those books, especially when we get into the pocket of Osiris and we start talking about the green man and blah, 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 because people don't know about chlorophyll. Like, that's what I'm saying. All of this nutrition stuff, please, you cannot be trapped by, you cannot be one of the people caught out there by the purposeful, the intentional shortening of attention spans. We all know it's happening, but we only pay attention to other people's attention spans getting shorter. We're not paying attention to ours, right? Don't fall into that because we think we know stuff. Oh yeah, I know about the chlorophyll. Yeah. I heard about the chlorophyll. You know what I'm saying? And most people that tell me about chlorophyll, they're like, oh yeah, I got the chlorophyll, liquid chlorophyll drops. That's not even chlorophyll in there. That's salt powder. That's salt water. That's not even liquid chlorophyll. Yeah, that's copper and salt water. That's not even, those are chlorophyllins. That's not chlorophyll, right? So the nutrition science is like super new. There's a difference between chlorophyll and chlorophylline. And there's 7 different categories of chlorophylls, right? 7 different categories of chlorophylls expressed throughout the plant and the algae kingdom. And they all do different stuff in your body, right? And so now, we're learning how chlorophyll acts in your body, in your tissues, in your skin. Like, it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? So, it's all new space, you know what I'm saying? Learning about opsins, for 100 years, we just thought opsins, you just had these pigments in your eye. Come to find out, they in your vajayjay, they in your testicles, you know what I'm saying? Like, they all over the place. They in your skin, everywhere, you know what I'm saying? So it's just, I think as science kind of unfolded these things, these are uncomfortable spaces because the same science, you got to remember, the same science that went along with Charles Darwin, that was used to justify, chattel slavery. That's the same science, the same science that justified, crazy experiments on Black women and whatever, like, that's the same scientific institution we still have to rely on, right? So you have to remember, this is the same group of people that sold your kids cigarettes. Like, these some wild, individually, people are smart. In mass, people are wild. You know what I'm saying? That's what we get, the herd mentality. So there's a space where, nobody knows this stuff and it's just ignorance. But then there's a space where, as people are learning stuff, like we see in TV shows and movies all the time, the people in power, one way or another, they find out some new information, and that new information is like, wait a minute, this could change everything. This could, this could affect our power or our money or our whatever. And they're like, yeah, let's bury that. Let's bury that. Put that, yeah, get that, yeah, don't put that out. Yeah, let's buy the rights to that. Let's quiet that down. You know what I'm saying? So I think that presented another one of those situations for a variety of reasons. You had, some feelings and ill will and some things like that. But then on the other side, you know, the understanding of the electron transport chain set us back. That's electrons and protons. Now understanding that there's a whole entire system beyond electrons and protons that operates on photons. That it just, that's why we here having this conversation. Melanin is anabolic. So for a variety of reasons, I thought this clip was good. You know what I'm saying? Because she's obviously one of the people that still is youthful, still pretty, still, and not just like a superficial kind of, surgery and pill, not a surgery and pill kind of youthful, not a surgery and pill kind of fitness, you know what I'm saying? But she's still working, so she can still dance and jump and bounce and run and do all of those things, that really mean health at 50. You know what I'm saying? At 50. That's important. And she did it with, it helps that, I'm the OG to the matriculation of information that helped her to make those changes.
Being vegan is a lifestyle. It's not a trend. Diet. It is doing less harm or the least harm to self, to the planet, and therefore others and every living being, including Earth itself. And there are other things that we can also do regarding not using plastic. Diet is directly affected to our spirituality and how we feel, our vibrations, our frequency, our energy. And if you want to improve your well-being, whether it's mentally, you want to fight depression, the energy that we consume, whether it is TV or social media or even what we put into our bodies directly, affect us, but our energy also affects everything in our lives, our finances, the people around us, our family. And so therefore it's a total human experience. It's the spiritual, it's the mental. It has everything to do with your pineal gland when you're consuming electric foods, pure, straight from the tree without pesticides and GMOs, as natural as possible. Just getting to nature, which is very hard in this day and age. Getting back to maybe how we used to live outside of a manufactured life, even the pollution, in the air. Getting back to the purest form of self and what we used to consume and what the human body is where we should be going. Number one, to improve the vibration of this entire earth, to think clearly, to treat each other better, and to do better. And it starts with diet, an assessment of self, but also just being aware of all of the things that are out here harming us, how we harm each other.
Some of the changes that I've experienced being vegan, I'm no longer anemic. I'm intaking so many more healthy foods, obviously vegetables, nuts, greens, seeds that are iron rich. My doctor said, "What are you doing? You're no longer anemic." So that's the first benefit. And I thought you had to have meat to have protein and get your iron, and that's false information. So I no longer get sick. Dairy has mucus buildup, which is awful for singers. I don't get sick, and my skin is clear. I lost 30 pounds. I don't have to go to the gym as much. And I just have clarity, like I mentioned before. Everything in my life has benefited me, just eating natural foods. And the more information about the truths and the harsh realities of treatment of animals, as well as the process of manufactured food or meat products, including seafood, including the dairy industry, which I was oblivious to being a vegetarian, it prompted me to continue this journey, which I'm very proud of, but it's impossible to turn back because I no longer see product, I see process. But what I've learned, I would definitely recommend it in every possible way if you want to see a huge difference in your life.
What am I missing? What am I missing? Oh, I know what I'm supposed to do. There we go. Dang. Good thing I have my grocery shopping list. Don't leave home without it.
All right. So week 6, day 3, right? Week 6, day 3. Week 6, day 3. And again, I'm really hoping people are going through and doing the homework. Like the homework portions are just as important as what's in the book. It's 3 parts to each one of these lessons. It's what we do in the video. It's what's in the book, because what's in the book is different than what we do in the video. The videos are to complement what's in the book. The videos are to complement what's in the book, right? And then there's another portion, which is the homework, right? Now, there are a couple of days where there is no homework. There are a couple of days where there is no homework. But that is only a couple of days, right? So the homework for week 6, day 3 comes from, it's simple, it's reading. Go to the codex. I believe it's page 204 to page 206, right? Page 204 to page 206, right? And I'm just giving you this as an example of why the homework part is important, right? Week 6, day 3, right? Let's go over some of the specifics of what we talk about. All right, so we go deeper into the conversation, obviously, of fats, the anatomy of fat, right? The anatomy of fat, carbohydrate. I mean, we take fat down, to the hydrophobic tail, hydrophilic head, right? It's a relationship with water, right? Water molecules have that dipole, that magnetic, that magnetic quality, which allows them to sustain life, to be the source of life. It's that dipole, the negative and positive, because water by itself almost creates a whole circuit. The nature of redox starts with hydrogen, negative hydrogen ion, positive, hydrogen ion, or electron and proton, right? But when you look at fat, fat has that same dual nature built in, so it can interact with water in a wide variety of ways. So anyway, we take the conversation down, and a part of the conversation always is getting the 360 perspective on the information, right? So much of the internet conversation is driven around fat loss, right? And we talk about visceral fat and blah, blah, blah. We still have to make sure that we highlight healthy fats. We still have to make sure that that your brain is made out of fat. Like your liver is a fat organ. Your liver is a fat processing plant. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what the liver is there for, is to process fat, right? Your brain is made out of fat. So this is why the Greeks was confused and thought that the liver was your brain. Like they thought the liver was the seat of consciousness in the body, right? So we got to you as an adult, you turn over like 50 billion cells a day. All of those cells need phospholipids, a phospholipid membrane. That's fat, right? So fat is required. Even if you're trying to get shredded and blah, 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 you could do these crash diets and all this kind of stuff. But anytime you run into a diet where you're cutting out, protein, or you're cutting out fat, or you're cutting out, carbohydrates, like anytime you get to a space where you're not getting certain nutrition, you're on a clock. That's why I don't believe in like water fasts, especially if you're going past 24 to 48 hours. Like you don't need to be doing a water fast past 24, 48 hours. Like you're bugging. You're bugging. That is not a good thing. People have to stop doing that. The more water you drink, the more water you flush. We know that. Common sense. As soon as we start drinking a lot of water, we start peeing a lot. But what you don't think about is that you're also flushing out your water-soluble vitamins. When they categorize vitamins like fat-soluble, water-soluble, part of that is where they are active, where they are stored at. You know what I'm saying? So fat-soluble lives in your body's fat. Water-soluble lives in your body's waterways and water systems, right? It's a part of the conditioning of different types of water in your body. So when you start flushing a bunch of water, you start losing all your B vitamins, all your C vitamins. Your B vitamins are required for you to break down fats and sugars. I just want you to catch that, because it's going to be somebody that's going to listen to me and think they smarter than, like, listen to what I'm saying. 99% of the people going on a water fast is because they want to detox and lose some quick weight. Well, both of those things, detoxing and losing quick weight, require the Krebs cycle and the beta oxidation cycle. Requires your body to break down fats and break down sugars, right? You have to break down sugars, break down fats. You need B1, B2, and B3. You need all your B vitamins, period. But you're not breaking down no carbohydrates and fats without those. So as the levels of B1, 2, and 3 go down, so does your body's ability to break down carbohydrates and fats. So again, get the gold book. I don't know where it is. Oh, there you go. Get the gold book. You see that? You can see the gold book. It stands out in the library because it's gold. It's yellow. It's a high yellow. It's light skin, right? Maybe that's what I should call this. Get the light skin book. Get the light skin book. Right? Get the light skin book. If you don't know how to do, the 40-day fast or the 120-day fast, right? But just breaking down, your nutrition, trying to make it simple, right? But anyway, fats are very important. Fats could almost be seen like the weighing of the heart scale, like the actual scale, because bad fats destroy the heart. Good fats, like the heart prefers fat. So the heart is a fat magnet. That's why fats impact your heart so much. The heart is a fat magnet. That's the type of substrate your heart like wants to use for fuel. You know what I'm saying? That's the type of substrate your heart wants to use. It can break down carbohydrates and recycle lactic acid. Like it can do those things, but first choice for the heart is fatty acids. right? Like the brain likes ketones, right? The brain likes ketones. The brain really likes breast galactose, right? As the preferred, like the brain really prefers galactose more than glucose, more than ketones. But, you know, that's another reason why people get stuck drinking milk for their whole life, because your brain like really likes galactose, right? But the heart anyway likes fatty acids, you know. So we go through for the homework, right? You're supposed to go through, at least for week 6, day 3, right? Page 204 to 206, and you should have this book, right? So it gives you that breakdown for the heart. It gives you that breakdown for the heart and specifically what's going on. Obviously, I'm not telling you, we're not going through the page right here, because you should have the book, right? You should have the codex. If you don't have no other books of mine, you should have this, right? If you only have one Dr. Inky book in your house, it should be this one, right? But that's the homework. And every day pretty much has homework that's very relevant to the classwork of the day, right? All right, so today we are somewhere in between page 205, that's week 6, day 3, and then 214 begins week 7, day 1, and that continues to page 224. So today we are in between page 205 and 224, right? 205 to 224. All right, so pull out your book. Take a look. It's in the book. Yo, I'm really like, it's cool when you get on the scale and you see, you know, the scale go down, you be like, oh, okay, I lost a few pounds. Or you look in the mirror, you know what I'm saying, and you start to see your midsection. You start to see your midsection changing. You start getting some fake lines and some shadows. You start believing you got a real six-pack. You don't got a six-pack. You don't have a six-pack. Listen, that's the shadow of the light hitting the layers of flabbiness. That's not a six-pack, but it's good inspiration. You know what I'm saying? Because you go from just roundness to like some shadows. You know what I'm saying? Some shadows. You're like, okay, they look six-pack-ish. You know what I'm saying? Like you got it. You just looking six-pack-ish. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yo, come on, man. Listen, we gotta do our thing, man. All right, so come on, everybody, let's get our books out. Let's thank let's thank the folks that's keeping the lights on. Let's thank the folks that's keeping the lights on. M4, J-Mar. And let's thank the people that's sharing the link. Hey, don't forget that. Let's share the link. Copy the link, copy the URL, and put it onto your Facebook page real quick. Go put it on your Instagram. Like, yo, we live. You know what I'm saying? If you got your study group, you need to be tapping your study group in when classes in session. You need to be tapping your study group. Yeah. Get them in here. Bro, Hope abs. Listen, Hope abs is real. You got to get the Hope abs in. Listen, because the Hope abs, we naming them joints. The Hope abs. Like we go hold that. We go, yeah, remember that. You know what I'm saying? But the Hope abs is important because there's a point where it's just flabbiness. And flabbiness is depressing. You know what I'm saying? People see themselves. It's depressing, you know. When you start to see a little action, that's when you start really like stepping it up. You like, oh, okay, this is working now. You know what? Even your mind change because you get ready to like, you know what I'm saying? Like you ready to skip lunch. You know what I'm saying? You like, nah, I'm not even eating right now, bro, because that's gonna throw me off. That you start looking at food like the ops. You know what I'm saying? You're like, nah, I'm not even eating right now because that's gonna throw me off. Like I ain't. And then demons start popping up in your life. You know what I'm saying? Stingy folks, cheap folks. You know what I'm saying? They all of a sudden want to. They all of a sudden want to share a. You know what I'm saying? Like, hold up, family. Hold on. You ain't never suggested that you pay for lunch ever before. What is going on right now? Oh no, let's just go ahead. Because I served this new little chicken place. We're gonna go over to this little thing. Man, they got this barbecue chicken with ho. Nah, bro. Come on, man. You just jumping on the top rope. Now, I heard of a place, since you got some money burning a hole in your pocket. I heard of, come on with me. We're going to get this green lemon cilantro juice. I ain't going nowhere with you. Yeah, I ain't going nowhere with you. You want to get me on a chicken sandwich with an order of French. You know, a chicken sandwich. Check this out. A chicken sandwich. And it doesn't matter. Right? Because I know some of y'all are like, wait, is he talking about a chicken sandwich or a vegan chicken sandwich? Processed chicken sandwich, whether it's processed vegan chicken sandwich or actual chicken, right? Because the chicken sandwiches is not really chicken anyway. But these chicken sandwiches, because you know these restaurants, they're going crazy with the chicken sandwiches. Like they putting crack, cocaine, hair. I don't know what they putting in them sandwiches, but that's a vibe, right? Because chicken seems to be like the safe place for everybody to hide at. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh no, I don't eat red meat. You know, I just eat chicken and fish. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then even the people that's vegan, but they with the processed fake vegan, they loading up on fake vegan chicken. You know what I'm saying? So chicken is the sweet spot. You know what I'm saying? Where the corporate interests get they lick back, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? They flooding the block with chicken, you know what I'm saying? But one of them chicken sandwiches with a nice little order of fries and a drink, you had like 1,500 calories. You had like 1,500 calories just one time. And this is literally, the problem is this. Let me say this, right? Because people going to be checking the label. Some people going to be like, I don't care. It's delicious. You know, I had the munchies. You know, I was blowing them trees and I had to. But some people going to take it to the next level. They're going to actually look at the ingredients thing and they're going to go out and try to make the best chicken choice that they can make. So I just want y'all to understand, when we having all these conversations about ghrelin and leptin and melanin concentrating hormone and all these things, it's important to kind of learn these things because, yes, it's important to know what you're eating. It's important to read the label, but everything is not on the label. You know, label reading is a level. The masses don't read food labels. So label reading is a level, right? But it's not the end all be all, because there's things that's not going to be on the label. And this game, which is one of the reasons why, you know, Jack Cruz is such a scammer. But this game with leptin, right? And the shift of putting people, you know, to think, oh, you're leptin. Leptin is the con artist hormone. Leptin is the hormone that the biochemist that's making $1 million a year to deceive your body, to create chemicals and molecules to deceive your body. That's what they focus on. Leptin. So that's not the fix, the cure, the path. Like that's the ops. You know what I'm saying? And so what happens is, what's not on the food label is when you eat these delicious, super hyper palatable, magnificent, you know, explosions of flavor, right? Because they got people that they paying millions of dollars to study each taste bud and give each taste bud, you know, so that you get an explosion of dopamine. So the neuromelanin centers, they're targeting the neuromelanin centers in the brain, the dopaminergic neurons, right? But the whole idea is one of the biggest problems is that there's no nutrients in the food. So when you had that 1,500 calories, because Elijah Muhammad created the blueprint back when he said, 1 meal a day if you can, right? Intermittent fasting. But you cannot do 1 meal a day if that 1 meal a day is empty. Like that's the biggest key to cutting down your calories, to the point where it don't even make sense to. That's why I'm spending so much time exposing calorie as a fake thing, because calorie studying in and of itself is a trap, because people trying to modulate what they're doing by calories, and it don't work, because calories not the same. Calories not the same. There are plates that you can have. You can eat a plate that's 1,500, 1 meal, 1,500 calories. But that meal will be so dense with vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and, protein and fiber, and you name it, that you might eat 1 meal a day without trying to eat 1 meal a day. Just because you satisfied, you didn't even think to go back and eat again, because you would still, that 1 meal held you. You was straight, you know what I'm saying? As opposed to you going to get one of them hyper delicious chicken sandwiches with the secret sauce on it and the fries and the drink, and then boom, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Now you ready to eat again. So it's like you just threw that 1,500 calories in there, and you got to go right back to eating because your body doesn't have the things that it needs. And that kind of trap fills up the fat cells, and then other stuff begins in the background. Because the larger your fat cells get, the more estrogen they produce in the background in your body. Right? The more estrogen they produce. The more estrogen they produce, the more cortisol pushes estrogen back into the fat cells, making them larger. So there's people that notice they have trouble with their weight even without the eating part. They're like, oh, it's hormones. No. It starts with the food and the exercise, but then hormones are programmed by food and exercise. So now you have programs running in the background that you don't know are running. Yeah, because these cells are alive and they want to live. So fat cells will do things to help fat cells live longer and stronger and better, fuller lives. Even if it hurts you, you know what I'm saying? So fat cells produce more estrogen. The estrogen at a healthy level helps you have stronger bones. When the estrogen gets crazy, the estrogen weakens the bones. The estrogen messes with your uterus. The estrogen messes with your testosterone levels, right? The estrogen does lots of crazy things in the background. But that's because of the fat. You know what I'm saying? So, ladies have it worse than us. You know what I'm saying? Men, we got to deal with, male boobs and penis issues and all kinds of stuff too. But, women naturally have larger fat cells. So they naturally have a higher proclivity to estrogen, right? Even in terms of self-production with fat cells. And so society is selling them on the idea of culture, which is cool because, it's the sisters, they got big butts and thick thighs. And so, they grab men's attention. So that ability to grab male attention has now transcended the sisters, and all women want to look like the sisters. And then there are sisters that don't have those genes. They got skinny, whatever the case may be. So a lot of women are just like, oh yeah, we're going to get that cornbread, we're going to get that cornbread and macaroni and cheese look. And it's like, all right, cool. But that cornbread and macaroni and cheese look, they come with a cost. It come with a cost. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not talking about Dr. Miami. Like, it comes with a cost. You know what I'm saying? So these are things that you won't see on the back of a food label. These are things that you won't, because yes, they are hormone and neurotransmitter issues, but they're not created in the world of hormones and neurotransmitters. They're created by your decisions. And then you create patterns, programs, algorithms, right? Go get the book, The Algorithm, right? You create these algorithms that, your body continues to run on in the background without you, just like your body is breathing without your conscious help. That's because you have the algorithms running. In the medulla oblongata, there's a little thing called the Botzinger complex, controlling you, making sure you keep breathing so you don't have to think about that, right? You have zillions of things like that your body is just doing for you to keep you, to keep you going. And at any point, you can learn how to switch from automatic back into manual, recreate new programs, new algorithms, and let those run in the background. You know what I'm saying? And, have some different results. Anyway. Try being 42 with a 1-year-old. Man, try being 42 with a, hold on, try being 42. wait, try being 42 with a 1-year-old. I'm trying to think what my roster looked like. you said a 1-year-old. I gotta say roster. Hold on. What did my roster look like when I was 42? Right? When I was 42, I had 2 3-year-olds. 2 7-year-olds. 2 3-year-olds, 2 7-year-olds, a 9-year-old. What was that? 15, 18, 20, 21, 25. I had, man. try being 42 with a roster. Oh my goodness. Bruh. With the deadbeat baby mama. Like, I'm like, so it ain't like it's no, wait, so it ain't like it's no teamwork popping. You know what I'm saying? It ain't no teamwork popping. Oh my God. You know what I'm saying? Not to throw no dirt on her, but just, like, listen, this is a solo operation. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's why I'm, struggling right now. band practice and basketball practice and track practice and medical, physical, all kinds of foolishness going on. With lifing at the same time, you know what I'm saying? So that's another thing, though. Learning these things that we need to learn to take care of our body is stress management. It's stress management. So sometimes people hit me up. They're like, yo, why don't you talk about anxiety and stress? And we know you got to be going through, crazy stuff. And I'm like, every class is anxiety, depression, and stress management. Every video is that. Every class, every video is that. Because our mental health is a projection of our physical health. There's the reason why pharmaceutical companies didn't really want, believe some folks got fired and demoted behind the release of the articles that came out in the journals because they were running some studies. And the pharmaceutical companies obviously were hoping, they were funding these studies, hoping that these studies would come out on the right side for them, demonstrating that depression drugs, anxiety drugs, and some of the mental health drugs were more beneficial than diet or exercise. And that's not what the test results showed. Exercise, specific types of exercise. There's some types of exercise, like extreme exercise, actually is more dangerous, adds more danger of anxiety and depression and some of those things. But like what we do daily with the prayer and all of those things, tested more beneficial for depression, anxiety, and cortisol and those things than any sort of drug. Yeah, the best drugs performed on par with exercise. The best. Most of them were not even close to the benefits of exercise in terms of, because a drug, here's the thing that maybe people don't really get. Drugs change processes inside your body, but they don't like create new stuff. So a drug will slow down an enzyme or speed up an enzyme, or a drug will block, receptors for a neurotransmitter, or help open up more receptors for a neurotransmitter. But the neurotransmitters themselves are naturally produced. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's not like the drug is creating serotonin. No, it's just changing the way your body processes serotonin or dopamine or, norepinephrine, etc. You know what I'm saying? So exercise does the same thing. Breathing does the same thing. Exercise does those modifications by most times changing our breathing patterns, right? Inspiration. That's literally, inspiration. You know what I'm saying? So okay, I got you. Yeah. The little ones be wilding. Yeah, the little ones be wilding. Yeah, but they're never not the little one. That's the thing. You know what I'm saying? So the youngest ones always, that's never going to change. Even when the 1-year-old becomes the 10-year-old, like, they're still going to antagonize the older ones and drive you crazy because they're driving everybody else crazy. Like, that's the benefit of being the youngest. There was a time when I was the youngest and I was, driving my older siblings crazy. So I get it, because there was a time when I was the oldest responsible for, you know what I'm saying, getting in trouble for things I ain't had nothing to do with. Like, yeah, well, you should have been. How I should have been. But now I get it, because now I'm the parent. You know what I'm saying? You trolling. Nah, there's no protocol. There's no protocol. There is no protocol. But you gonna be good because you got a partner. You know what I'm saying? And so what the only thing y'all can do is just sleep when the baby sleeps. That's the most simplest, best advice you could get. Sleep when the baby sleeps. Get used to micro naps. You know what I'm saying? Get used to micro naps. Get good curtains, good blinds, so you can block out the sun. You know what I'm saying? Because some days you're going to have to get that daytime sleep so you could, rock out throughout the night. And, hopefully you get the most out of the breast milk. You know what I'm saying? The breast milk really is gold standard when it comes to sleep. The more breastfeeding, the more full nights of sleep, or at least long nights of sleep your baby will get. At least from my experience. You know what I'm saying? The more breast milk, the better the sleep. But you got to sleep throughout the day. You got to just get into, grizzly bear hibernation mode. Baby sleep, you sleep. Got to make sure family and friends understand and respect it. And then you just got to juggle work. Yeah, you got to juggle work. Let your folks at work know you might be a little cranky. So pipe down. Like, I'm here. I'm cool. But I might be a little snappy. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm running on short sleep hours. You know what I'm saying? So. Yeah. Because you need that darkness. Because when you got to sleep in the day, you got to try to fake it. You know what I'm saying? So hit the blinds and the curtains, turn off the electronics. The baby is asleep. We sleep. You know what I'm saying? Don't be trying to. You got to try. I guess you got to have sex, but just be careful. Because sometimes, it'd be so much love in the air. It'd be so much love in the air and the baby smell. That baby smell like that, just be careful. You know what I'm saying? Because the baby go to sleep. You're trying to get a little action. Like, the baby sleep. Come on, babe. I'll just tell you the veteran call. The baby sleep, you sleep. The baby ain't sleep. Let's get active. No. Baby sleep, you sleep. Because the baby sleep, you're going to try to get you a little action in, and then the baby going to wake up. And then baby going to stay up. Like the baby felt like it missed something. Now the baby up. And y'all looking drowsy, head, eyes blinking, looking at it. No, don't, yeah. Yeah. Because one of the coaches of Chase's team is a fireman, and he just came to practice, kind of like, not stressed, but kind of like, I had a rough day at work. You know what I'm saying? He was telling us about it. He had to deal with an emergency scene where an infant passed away because the parents, the mom was at work, the dad went to sleep on the baby or something to that effect. Went to sleep on the baby or went to sleep, left the baby up, and the baby, but the baby passed away. You know what I'm saying? And I had a homeboy that happened to back in the days. You know what I'm saying? But his situation was different. You know what I'm saying? Him and his baby moms was both overweight, really overweight, like super overweight. They was big, but he was the type of big guy that women would consider handsome, and she was the type of big girl that she was still shapely, even though she was big. So, she got attention. And they had a newborn, and they slept with the newborn in the bed. And when they went to sleep that night, they woke up the next morning, one of them or both of them had smothered the baby in the bed, And that's just sometimes, you know, you fall asleep with the baby in the bed next to you because you're trying to put the baby to sleep. So you're trying to get the mood right for sleep, and you rocking the baby, and you doze off before the baby doze off. You know what I'm saying? So I never really slept with the babies. I always got the like the things that goes on, like you could put them in a separate compartment and then you could pull that on top of the bed. You know what I'm saying? That's super value. Them joints is a little pricey. They might cost $80, $100 or something like that, but keep your baby safe. You know what I'm saying? Because you might doze off sometime. Yeah, that's human. You might doze off. That's not failure as a mom or a dad. That's just reality. You might doze off. So having them in their own little safe compartment, you know what I'm saying, that's close to you, right? So if they cry too much or whatever, you can, you know, pop back up and, you know, whatever. But and then also for the love, you want your baby close. You don't want your baby like on the other side of the room or no crazy, you know, that ain't my parenting style. My parenting style is keep it close. You know what I'm saying? So I always like to have those little compartments where you could like, it got a little stand, but then you could also put it to where it's like, you could put it like on the bed or right next to the bed. You know what I'm saying? So it's a few different little options. Yeah, it's a few options. Man, these are things that, listen, there's a lot of things that I saw in regular life that inspired me to go down this road. Because when we get to the science and we start talking, that's why, again, back to the kitchen chemistry book. That's why the kitchen chemistry book is written in the way that it's written. Because most people are interested in the micromanaging or the macro. Like people, you know, we have conversations about things like, you know, babies and fat and diabetes and woo. That's macro. Some people want to hit a micro, you know, the mitochondria, an electron, this, and that. But real understanding doesn't come until you're able to understand how, okay, I'm going to eat this, whatever. I'm going to break it down into these molecules. These molecules is going to do this to my genes, to my cells, and blah, blah, blah. But we're going to still continue to break that stuff down and re-break that stuff down and ferment some of that stuff. And these chemical reactions are happening. Those will happen and blah, blah, blah. This will then translate to cancer or brain disease or, you know, me being able to dunk on a fast break or have long sessions with my, you know, whatever, or whatever the case may be. Like just being able to translate the real life stuff to the sciencey, back from the sciencey, back to the real life kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So that's important for these discussions. Anyway, it's 11:35. Man, we almost to prayer time. I wanted to be done with this class before prayer. I wanted to be done with this class before prayer. All right. Let's see what we can get in 20 minutes. Let's see what we can get in. We ain't getting in nothing in 20 minutes, right? But we can get in a few things, and then we just go to prayer, come back from prayer, and finish getting busy. Or maybe we just do prayer early. Yeah, let's do prayer. You know, because I like these videos. I like my videos with I like my videos with me and the babies. You know what I'm saying? My chopped and screwed. I know y'all be hating on my chopped and screwed video, but I like my chopped and screwed videos. So yeah, we just get prayer out the way early. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get prayer out the way early. give thanks and praise to the Most High God for the divine spark that set our cells into perpetual motion. We give thanks for the magnetism of the Most Holy, the magnetism that repels and attracts the ferry bolts of light 60,000 miles every 60 seconds throughout our vessels and caves. We give thanks for the ability to drink clean water every 60 minutes, flooding the river of life. We give thanks that sugar has not covered our ferries and turned them into stone. We give thanks that darkness has not covered the riverbanks with calcium and turned them into stone. We give thanks that anger and fear have not turned our almonds bitter, turning our heart to stone. We give thanks for smooth sailing upstream through the valley of death, through the superior vena cava into the right atrium. We give thanks for smooth sailing around the heart through the corona crown, joining the vortex in the right atrium. We give thanks for the perfect black solar repeater that induces the primary electromagnetic wave, opening the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodeshim. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodeshim closes. We give thanks to the ray wave reflecting on the semi-lunar valves, opening a pathway to the vineyard. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the lunar gate to the vineyard closes. We give thanks to the Most High God that provides the light and our breath, and the light in our breath. We give thanks for the fine olfactory system that makes our grapes ripe with light. We give thanks for the jet pillar that provides us with a stable fleet of ferry boats to dock in our vineyard. We give thanks for smooth sailing through the pulmonary vein into the storm of the left atrium. We give thanks for the perfect black solar repeater that induces the primary electromagnetic wave, opening the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodeshim. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodeshim closes. We give thanks to the ray wave reflecting on the semi-lunar valves, opening a pathway into the holy royal arch of the Wa scepter. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced
when the lunar gate into the holy royal arch of the Y scepter closes. We give thanks for the magnetism of the most holy, the magnetism that repels and attracts the ferry boats of light 60,000 miles every 60 seconds throughout our vessels and our caves. Amen.
Man, I had such a good time with the young guys. Like, yo, y'all gotta get y'all thing together. If you can't do 20 push-ups. But I'm telling you, our video game era children is in trouble. That's why life expectancy is going backwards. Some of the things you wouldn't expect, like video games killing these babies. When the video games start going crazy, a lot of parents start complaining about, like possible issues with like shooters. Like they just had another shooting incident at a school. Because children are getting desensitized from the games, but there's a whole nother aspect. There's a whole nother aspect of it. Just sitting down, cutting your circulation off, sitting down and playing games for hours and hours and hours and hours and snacking. And, so the industry around games has, think about within the game culture, within these Warcraft games or just hours and hours of 2K, businesses like Uber Eats, DoorDash, things that help facilitate sit-down culture. The snacks and the cookies and the quick, all of those. That's, a lot of pizza, a lot of sodas, and a lot of those things facilitate that culture. So, these are things that's contributing to so many other areas that we're not even paying attention to. Like our global athletes. Slowly but surely, the other countries look like they're becoming competitive with our athletes, but it's really our athletes are going backwards because the health in our country is going backwards. And we don't get to have athletes of another kind of athletes. You know what I'm saying? Like our athletes come from our babies. So, and it comes from the competition of our babies. We choose from the best of our children to make it to the different levels of athlete. If that pool of athletic potential drops, it doesn't mean we stop having football, basketball, soccer, boxing, whatever. It just means that we don't perform as well against the other countries because our health standard is dropping. That's going to continue to show on the Olympic stage, right? Because a lot of these other countries, they have better health standards. So their children spend more time playing, physical, they're just more physical, more, robust, stronger, they have more dense bones. They Our babies is a little more spoiled, a little more video games, a little more fast food, you know, so it's going to start showing up. It's going to start showing up. These is other areas. That's why I'm saying the health is cool when we get to the mitochondria and we going into quantum this and that and the other, but understand that life is one stack. Life is a stack. One thing on top of another, on top of another, on top of another. So when we start playing with electrons and protons, that's going to change what happens inside cells. When we start changing what happens inside cells, that's going to change what happens in tissues. When we start changing what happens in tissues, now that changes muscles, bones, brain, heart, liver, penis, vagina, fertility, fibroid, breast cancer, diabetes, this one, that one, the fastest man, you know, whatever, or the, you know, all of those things, you know what I'm saying? It all, you know what I'm saying? It's all affected. So. Yeah. I like that. They got those in the Life, what is that? Lifetime Gym. I think they got those in there. All right, so what we talking about? What we on, Doc? All right, so let's do some recapping. Right, let's get our marker together. Right, so carbohydrate. Can become fat, right? For argument purposes, fat can become carbohydrate, right? Protein can be broken down to carbohydrate as well, right? And this is not exactly like, so fat doesn't like become like a grape or a steak or a hemp protein or lentil can't turn into an apple, right? But just energy wise inside your body, right? Your body can break fats down to be used to produce electricity in the Krebs cycle. Your body can break proteins back down to amino acids and then turn those amino acids into electricity in the Krebs cycle, right? So in that space where we're saying like something that your body can use to make electricity, yeah, fats and proteins can become carbohydrates, but nothing can become amino acids. Nothing can become amino acids. Nothing can become proteins, right? Now your body can use the Krebs cycle and use your nitrogen pool to build some amino acids and some proteins, right? But that's not the same as direct conversion, right? That's not the same as direct conversion. So that's why it's so important to focus on getting this into your diet, right? That's why it's so important to focus on getting nitrogen into your diet. Nitrogen specifically, but you know, we can simplify that in terms of protein, right? But it's the nitrogen portion, right? It's the nitrogen that we need to understand. That's where the magic happens, right? Nitrogen is the magic part of fertilizer in the soil to make plants grow. You know, nitrogen is that magic. So we have to have that part. Yeah, that's key. right? So we'll get to that part. You know, that'll come back up when we get deeper into protein and we talk about right, non-essential amino acids versus essential amino acids, right? We spend a lot of time where is we spent a lot of time in the protein composition book talking about that. A lot of time. A lot of time. That is a whole universe of conversations that are not anywhere. Like no one's having these conversations. This book right here is like press rewind if I haven't blow your mind. Like this is crazy. This book is insane. You know what I'm saying? So you need to have your protein composition book. So as we get through the weeks, though, we're going to go deeper and deeper into this book because we can't really have this anabolic conversation without the protein portion, right? All right. So in our review space, right? Do we need to do this? Do I need to write this down? Carbohydrates, glucose pyruvate, acetyl-CoA, excess acetyl-CoA plus NAD is how you produce fat, right? Excess acetyl-CoA. And then those fatty acids get packaged as triglycerides. Right? Yeah, I guess we can write that down. All right, just in case. Right? And then from there, it should be simple. This is what's called de novo lipogenesis. The same way we go into electrogenesis and now aquagenesis, right? Electrogenesis, the production of electricity. Aquagenesis, the production of water, right? Lipogenesis, the production of fats, right? So this is what's happening in the electric space. Like we saw Maya earlier talking about eating electric food. Yeah. Man, that electric food conversation and the trend it started and all that's beautiful because it helps people to, make transformations. But just know, you know what I'm saying? Technically, a slice of greasy pizza is electric. You know, a bag of Doritos is electric. Oreo cookies, cupcakes, Twinkies are electric food, right? So trend wise, it's cool to say those things, but science wise, that's not real. That's not like real science. You know what I'm saying? So people that, you know, like how she like sitting up being interviewed, like, so yeah, you know, the electric foods and I used to be one of them people. I thought I was saying something crazy, like, nah, you know, the electric food, you know, like you're not. You're saying something crazy, but not crazy like in a good way or a deep way. You looking wild, like you look crazy, especially when we couple, you know, electric food with stuff like chakras, and you just add crazy on top of crazy, and then we wonder why the movement hasn't went where it needs to go. It's because none of that stuff is translatable. None of that stuff is translatable. It's cool for slang and for culture and for people that get hip, like, oh, okay, yeah, electric food, that's, you know, that's whole, you know, that's natural. Yeah, we're going back to the essence. We, you know, but we got to understand those are colloquial terms that are just like euphemistic slangs that don't translate to science, right? Because white bread is electric food. Like all carbohydrates, your body breaks down and produces electricity from. All of them. A Twinkie, an apple, a kale salad, a chicken sandwich from Beyond Meat, or, you know, it's all going to be electric. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what your body's an electric, magnetic, light machine. Everything's matter of fact. Chase, bring me one of them packages of Impossible Burgers or them Beyond Burgers, whatever that is. Bring me one of them packages. I just got a couple of them things. They was on sale. I was like, whoop.
Snazzy Dad.
Yo, you better stop trolling.
I'll watch home.
You an NPC, man. Close my door. And why did y'all let the dog bring sticks into the house and you keep putting sticks? Why are you like trying to kick this stick into my? Oh, what are you doing, bro? Put that back outside. Oh, what is up with these? That's what I'm saying. And he's 16. Like my man, quietly like just kicked like a stick from outside in the street. Look, it's a stick. Like, what are they doing? But so what I was gonna say is, you know, when you get to breaking down these ingredients, just know your body's able to produce electricity from all of these different foods. You know what I'm saying? So that's not the thing. That's not the thing. You know what I'm saying? And we can talk about, you know, it's impossible. I said Beyond. It's Impossible Burgers. Right? This is their new packaging. Right? They went to the new 2 packaging so they could charge more money. When Impossible first came out, there was 4 burgers for like $4 or something, $4 or $5. Then it went up to like $8.99. Then they broke it back down and put 2 in the package, and then they started charging $5. But anyway, my point though is when you read the package, you go in the back of the package, it shows vitamin D. Even though it shows 0% of vitamin D, it still has vitamin D on there. So for a person that just look real quick, you know, when you look and you see vitamin D, calcium, iron, this one, that one, and you see all these different nutrients inside the burgers, you say to yourself, oh yeah, this is good. Yeah, this is good. This is vegan. I got my iron and my this and that and B vitamins and woo woo. You straight. But again, everything does not translate from the food label. Everything doesn't translate from the food label. You know what I'm saying? And so that's another reason why we have a big push to move away from calories and move to joules, right? And we start that. We really start the big push in these two books. The bioelectricity book and the glymphatic system book, the memory bank book, right? We really start the big push in these books. So if you don't have these books, go to Amazon and get these books. But that's one of the reasons why we start the push, because joules is how we measure your electrical output daily, not calories in, calories out, right? But calories in, electricity out, right? Nutrition in, electricity out, right? Water in, electricity out. The electricity output is the most important thing, right? Calories are arbitrary. It doesn't even really apply to humans, right? So technically humans don't even really produce calories because we don't burn food, right? So that's not even really a thing. But as more categories of fibers and carbohydrates and proteins and different things come out, the numbers don't even actually fit anymore, even though any kind of cap or guideline to what you're eating helps you to eat less. And so anything that helps you to eat less kind of puts you on a track to be healthier, right? So any arbitrary numbers could work, but for accuracy, we're moving away from calories for a variety of reasons, right? A, because nutrient density is more important, and B, understanding the body's electrical output day to day is more important, right? Like even the concept of calorie deficit, right? We got to get rid of calories. So that means we got to get rid of the calorie deficit, right? Calorie deficit. What is calorie deficit based on? Creating more electricity than you store future electricity, right? You store future substrates, future carbohydrates, right? Like a squirrel putting nuts in the tree, right? What are you using? And then how well are you using it, right? So there's a wide variety of reasons we're switching over to joules, right? But we need to know what lipogenesis is, just like we need to understand electrogenesis, how our body creates electricity from foods, and how our body creates water, right? Because we skipped over that. Science just skipped right over that, right? They went from foods, Krebs cycle creates electrons, and then we went right to electrons, recycle ATP. we skipped right over that middle part where water is created, pure, holy, wholesome, the purest, holiest water on earth. Better than any bottle, any iceberg glacier. There's nothing more pure than the water that your cells produce. Not structured water. This ain't that conversation. Aquagenesis is not about structured water. So I know I learned about structured water. That's the structure. No. Aquagenesis is when your cells produce fresh water. Fresh water would be considered bulk water. This is unstructured water molecules, individual water molecules that later can be added to the structured water in the cell. that later is often added to the structured water in the cell. But no, this is just straight water, pure H2O. Probably the only source of H2O on Earth that you can get, because any water now has other stuff in it. Right? You get water in the plastic. That's why I had to switch over, folks. Like, hold up, Inky, how you drinking water out of a plastic? I'm like, hey, first of all, that is a BPA-free secured bottle. Like, no, Inky, we need to see you drink. So I had to pull my, my travel. I had to pull my travel joint out for the YouTube. I can't even drink out of a, you know what I'm saying? Folks text messaging me, Inky, how you drinking out of, what do you do? All right. So we go a little deeper into the structure of fats. I'll let you do that in the book and the homework. Right? I'll let you do that in the homework, but I think that for our conversation, this is the main, oh, here we go. The main point to focus on. Right? The main point to focus on is excess glucose and excess acetyl-CoA. Excess glucose and excess acetyl-CoA. In fact, excess. Right? Which is the reason why I put all three up. I put carbohydrates, I put fat, and then I put the protein, and then I put the little arrow, like your body can break down protein into sugar, right? Well, we got to think of that excess, right? That's what I kind of want to just focus your attention on in the combo, excess, right? Excess is anything that's not turned into electricity, which is why we got to get rid of the ideal calories and focus on electrical production. Anything that's not turned into electricity is excess. Excess is going to start the lipogenesis process one way or another, which is the reason why now, because remember, we've been having this convo about 5 years or more. Now I've been saying, like, listen, hold on. Y'all watching these platforms and they telling you protein as the way to beat diabetes or whatever the case may be. No carbs, but for most people, protein raises the insulin level just like carbohydrates does. See, here's some valuable information, right? And it's not in my book. It's not even really on the internet anywhere, right? Because most people have secular conversation, right? Secular, meaning the meat people, they on their meat vibe, the animal people on they, the fat people, the plant people, vegan, like everybody's secular, like the church, right? But you know what's funny? The food people laugh at the church people for being secular. You know what I'm saying? The Christian people laugh at the Muslims for being secular. Oh, they divided up. Oh, everybody's, we divide based on beliefs. That's just human, And so what happens is this. The protein industry is big. The animal farmers, the cow. This is cowboy country still. So they have a stronghold, and so they make sure that they're always a part of certain types of conversations, so that their product, they keep their money. The Cowboys fund Hollywood and a lot of other things that Netflix, I was Nickelodeon, Netflix, and all these different things are funded by beef, beef money. You know what I'm saying? The beef guys are usually the oil guys, oil and beef. So you have the conversation about carbohydrates, right? And you get into insulin spikes and sugar spikes. And so the conversation is that the fiber and the protein stops the insulin or the sugar spike, right? Which is accurate, right? But there's an advantage that fiber has over protein, right? Protein doesn't always protect you from insulin spikes. Protein does not always protect you from insulin spikes. That's why you have to know this, right? So this is why, and these like secrets, this like protein exposed. This is not even protein exposed, but like protein culture exposed, right? This is where the concept. So when they found this out, this was a weakness in the whole protein meat, this was a weakness. So this is where they came with the eat multiple times a day. Break up the protein because they want you to have 10,000 calories, 10,000 grams of protein a day. Like, yeah, the more protein, the better. The problem is protein has to be meticulously tied to your activity level. Period. Because the moment you have more protein, and so it's not about, we've seen a study that says the body could break down 30 grams of protein at a meal, or 50 grams, or 80 grams, or whatever the case may be. Because those studies, if you notice, there's a time period, they say, 20, 25, 30 grams tops for an athlete. Then they come with more studies. Go, no, we were wrong. You can break down 50 grams of protein at a meal. And no, the older you get, we were wrong. The older you get, you probably need to have 60, 70 grams a meal. And what's happening is you study different groups of people, you get different results. Different people, different activity level, different body fat to muscle percentages, right? The more muscle they have, the more protein they can metabolize, right? The more activity, the more muscle, the more protein, the more tissues breaking down, the more turnover. Typically, they probably have a higher, mTOR activity. So there's a lot of things that will bleed into these studies that you may not get on the surface level, especially if you're just listening to somebody summarize points to validate their program or whatever they're trying to sell or whatever So whenever you're consuming more protein than you metabolize, your body turns the rest of it into sugar. So it doesn't matter how much protein it is, right? You could be having 15 grams of protein per meal, 3 meals a day, 45 grams of protein. But you might have played Warcraft. you might have just sat on the couch and played video games, watched football, went to the bathroom, came back, watched, you might have just sat on the couch all day. Smoked weed, drank some beers or whatever, you might have just sat down all day. So even 40, 50 grams of protein might have been more than your body needed for the day. So instead of protein lowering, sugar spike, lowering insulin spike, no, your protein is contributing to sugar spike, contributing to insulin spike. Because you're not using the protein. Now, as you get more muscle, you need more protein. As you get more active, you need more protein. As you get older, you need more protein, right? It's not the opposite way. Like you would think a 20-year-old, they more active, they need more protein. Yes and no. But the baseline at resting, the older person needs more than the younger person because they got their genes and their testosterone level being through the roof is going to make up for any tissue production where you don't have that. So you need as much amino acid in the pool as possible. You need as much amino acid in the pool as possible so your body can stay as anabolic as possible. But you just have to know there's a fall off. Once you have too much, because you're having protein shakes, you eating, burgers, and you're going crazy, 100, 200 grams of protein a day, and you're not doing that. You don't have that type of output. You don't have 10,000 steps in. You don't have an hour worth of cardio. You don't have 45 minutes worth of resistance training. You don't have the exercise, the activity level required for your body to metabolize all that protein. So it's just turning into sugar. And then the excess sugar now is going to turn into fat, lipogenesis. So you might think, I'm eating more protein. Yeah, but are you doing more push-ups? Because can you hit that 60 and 60? Yeah, can you hit that 60 and 60? How many of them push-ups you did? Yeah. We got you. Grams of protein. If you're eating more grams of protein than you're doing push-ups, chances are you're gonna be in trouble. Right? And then if you're listening to the steroid guys, you're listening to this, just work out 2-3 days a week with resistance training. So the resistance training 2-3 days a week. So what happens is, and so when you have the resistance training, you're going to get the hypertrophy. And as the hypertrophy is developed, what you want to have is time under tension. And so when the time under tension creates these micro tears in the muscle fibers, you listening to all that gobbledygook, like boop, bop, boop, bop. If you believe in that's you, them folks is on lots of drugs. You cannot do the same thing as them people on them drugs. Okay? Because when they on them drugs, guess what? They only need to work out a certain amount of time. When they're not working out, the drugs is working out for them. That's why them drugs cost so much money. Yeah, the drugs is in there. Yeah. You don't have that going on in there. So you're going to need to get your butt out there and get that 10,000 steps a day. You're going to need to hit that prayer. Yeah. 3, 4, 5 times a day and get you a few little squats, a little toe raises, you're going to need to manually start that engine. Like when you out there, you got to cut the grass. And what's that? Not the grass cutting thing. What's the other thing? I'm talking about the edger. You got to hit that thing with the you gotta pull the string a few times before you. Yeah. That's how you gotta do your metabolism. The older you get, you gotta. Like if you got an old car in the wintertime, you gotta turn that thing on and let it run for a little bit. That's what you gotta do with your body. You gotta turn that thing on and let it run for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So that the engine and everything can idle and it can clean out that's how it got to go. So that's what really that's what really the conversation is when you're coming into the discussion of problems with fats. Right? Problems with fats, because we get into good fats, bad fats, and we get into palmitic acid and unsaturated and saturated, and we miss this basic transmutation process, right? We miss this basic process of using what we got from the earth. We miss this basic sharing thing, symbiotic. Right? The sharing thing was built into us. And so when we get stingy, we get sick. Stingy is disease. Right now I sound like the pastor in the church. Go ahead and hit the Cash App. Send me some Zelle and some. When you get stingy, you get disease, because Jesus chapter 1 verse 17 says, "Thou shalt send in the money." No, but that's how your body's designed. Stingy breeds disease. And stingy is where you're consuming more than you're using. You're hoarding, right? You're hoarding. And a lot of us are doing that just because that's the culture. That's the culture, right? Especially when you come out of poverty, you don't know where your next meal coming from. You're like, I got to eat everything in front of me today. You know what I'm saying? But we just got to try to stay disciplined. No matter what tomorrow may look like, we got to stay disciplined today, because we may not get a tomorrow if we're not disciplined today, right? And so before we get into, which we do in the book, you know what I'm saying, but I just want to add this caveat for week 6, day 3, and going into week 7 is, yes, you can have the animal protein versus vegan protein conversation. There's benefits and drawbacks. Depending on your lifestyle, you choose, right? Yes, you can have the conversation about good fats and bad fats, healthy oils and unhealthy oils, right? Yes, we can talk about Twinkies versus mangoes, different types of carbohydrates. But before we even get there, excess is the most important thing, because too many, like if you have too much fruit, too much healthy, nutritious carbohydrates, it's going to lead to fat. Too much hemp protein is going to spike your insulin. It's going to lead to fat. It's going to lead to diabetes. So there's a level where it doesn't matter what it says on the back of the label. Doesn't matter what's on the back of the label. You're obsessed with these ideas because of calorie culture. And calorie culture doesn't apply to humans, because calories is based on putting food in a bomb container and exploding the food and counting the ashes and the heat. We don't even do that. Like, that's right. So what we got to focus on is what we use and consuming what we use. Consuming what we use creates that lean look. Period. That's lean, right? That's lean. Think about the word lean in itself. Now, today, lean is the word that's generating billions of dollars. But if we go back to your mom's time, my mom's time, lean was a bad word. Like, yeah, man, it's gonna be some lean times coming up, because we ain't really got it, and such and such just got laid off. So man, it's gonna be lean around here for a minute, because I don't know how we gonna pay for the whooped and the then. And we ain't gonna be able to have no water and lights at the same time, Yeah, lean was associated with famine, was associated with poverty, was associated with malnutrition and sickness. So wealth was associated with excess. Now we have to unlearn that and relearn that excess is disease. Excess creates malnutrition, right? Just like not having enough we don't have that problem in America. Our problem in America is that we're eating too much food that's devoid of nutrition. So it's not having enough food, it's not having enough nutrition. And then the people who are financially able to, eat whatever they want, whenever they want, they're eating too much. And they think that money is the answer. They think money is the answer. So like I'm buying $8 green juices. I'm buying $12 smoothies. I'm eating $25 salads. And, you know, I'm spending money. You know, I went and spent $500 at, you know, vitamin shop on supplements. You know, I'm spending. It don't go like that. Because even if you have all great, you know, if you having lentil, hemp, pea protein, or you having cage-free, organic, purple egg, you know, grass-fed, whatever, like, you can have excess of those things. You can have excess of those things. You can have the raw coconut, medium chain, triglyceride, you know, you can have too much. And when you have too much, they get broken down. And when they get rebuilt as fat, it's just blubber. It's not, oh, look at that blubber on his, look at that visceral fat. Well, you can't look at visceral fat, but it's not like this visceral fat costed $80 at, you know, this visceral fat cost him, you know, that was a $400 meal at Ruth Chris versus the visceral fat right there cost him $7 at White Castle. When the food becomes visceral fat, the price that you paid for it doesn't matter. In fact, you look dumber because you spent $1,000 on the visceral fat, choking your heart out, where this person probably spent $12 on, you know, that was some ramen noodles, the Burger King 2 for $1, you know what I'm saying? Like, by the time it becomes visceral fat, it's those cultural, societal ideas that run the price up of stuff is gone. It's gone. Just like I was saying the other day when we was watching the religious debate. By the time people come to see me for help with their health, you know, they Christian, Muslim, Kemetic this, atheist, agnostic, Buddhist, none of that matters. Because Buddhist people get cancer. Yeah, Christians get cancer, Catholics get cancer, like Muslims get fat, Jewish people get fat, Christians get fat. Like everybody's dealing with these same issues because everybody's walking around in the world oblivious to these books that we're supposed to be going to Amazon and putting in our cart and checking out. All right. All right. I better stop playing. CrossFit is not the truth. CrossFit is not the truth. CrossFit is dangerous. The culture of CrossFit is the truth. I rock with CrossFit, culture-wise. The culture is dangerous. But CrossFit is created by cocaine cowboys. So you get into CrossFit, you need to understand that's cocaine cowboy program there. That culture was created by insane, like the guys that like to jump out the airplanes and bungee jumping. Yeah, they created that exercise culture. So I like the culture of CrossFit. You know what I'm saying? Where they just all about, you know, trying to get as fit as possible. Malcolm X style, by any means necessary, get as fit as possible. But that's not healthy for your heart. That's not healthy for your heart. And them folks get a lot of injuries because they be going crazy, trying to do 17 pull-ups in 5 seconds. Like, come on, with their body going crazy. Like, no. CrossFit is wild, bro. But I like the culture. You know what I'm saying? I'm a fan of what's his name? Rich Froning. You know what I'm saying? Rich Froning is like the LeBron of the CrossFit world, just in case y'all don't know. Yeah. I'm up on cross. Listen, if it got something to do with health, trust me. Anything that got something to do with health somewhere, trust me, I'm somewhere with a notebook out like that in student mode. I'm watching, taking notes. So I could go, oh, yeah, notes. Yeah, we'd never do that. Yeah, oh, wow, so they on that? Oh, okay, so we definitely doing that. Yeah, we always, let's note, make sure we incorporate this into the program. Yeah, no matter what, no matter where. Trust me, if they doing a University of Omaha, we just released a new study on. I'm somewhere like that. Word? Okay. Yeah, let me get that study. Oh, yeah, let me get that. Exercise, an article, dietary, cultural shifts, whatever. I'm on the front line, figuring it out, guinea pigging myself too, so I can report back to the, you know what I'm saying? I'm the guy, matter of fact, like when it's a tornado, it's one thirsty reporter, like right out there. The tornado is right there ripping the building up behind them. They jacket is flying like that into the tornado. Like, and so we're really close right here, right into the eye of the storm. And so the tornado is really getting close. And that's me. I'm like with the health scene. I'm right there on the front line. Oh man. Listen, CrossFit is amazing. CrossFit is amazing. The culture of it, because the culture of CrossFit is like just straight, it's like military. It's like military for regular folks. You know what I'm saying? And then you could just join up with people that's just on the same frequency. Like, we just, the crazy people, basically, that's CrossFit. We just want to exercise all day and eat sprouts and, like whatever's the healthiest thing on earth. We want to just eat that all day, exercise all day. And we only want to talk about eating and exercising and being healthy all day. Like, and we all go through like periods of that. You know what I'm saying? So it's dope that somebody created a culture for that experience. You know what I'm saying? It's just, recovery is not really a big thing in the CrossFit world. It's not about recovery or longevity. You know what I'm saying? CrossFit is crazy. But CrossFit is awesome at the same time. You know what I'm saying? CrossFit is awesome at the same time. All right, so let me see what else we got. All right, so the nature of fat. Right? So the nature of fat. Let's just go through that one time for the one time. The nature of fat. Right? When we're talking about electricity. Now, if you've been buying the books, right? I want to tell you what we did and what we stopped doing, right? So things have an end, right? Things have an end. Let me see. Was this the last book? I think the protein book is the last of the Mohegans. Yep. The protein book. The protein book and the water book. Wherever it is. Wherever it is. Oh, here it goes. These are the last books. Yeah, these are the last books that have that section in the back, like technology recap, where we go through the anatomy, the electric anatomy, part by part, and we kind of break it down. Remember when we first started doing it, I had the like we start breaking it down here. Right? We first start breaking it down. And you can see right about here, phospholipids as capacitors, right here. Right? And so we kind of went through the whole body in terms of breaking down the anatomy. Black's anatomy book ended that. Right? Black's anatomy book ended that. So now we went to the highest level. we went crazy. Yeah, we done went crazy in this book. So we started that research together. I think the first book where we started that was, it might have been the Melanin book. It's either the Melanin book or Inky and the Brainwave, when we were talking about brainwaves and electrostatics and we kept building it up, refining it. We changed some stuff over time, refined it, changed some stuff over time. So I would say it probably took us a good 2 years of focus, you know what I'm saying, to really break it, get it the full understanding of light, electricity, and magnetism in the body. And that culminated in that, boom. So now we have a book just on that. Yeah, we have a book just on that. And it's a thick book. It's a big book. It's a big boy. It's a big boy. It's like this. But I think this book has, this book is something like an 80,000 or 90,000 word count. The Black's Anatomy book is I think like 130,000 word count, something more. Yeah, it's up there. It's up there. It's up there. So now we have a whole book just on everything that medical school and medical school development left out. You know what I'm saying? Everything they left out and more going into the future. Infinity and beyond. Okay. All right. So that being said, right, Fat is a hydrogen hydrogen-based capacitor, right? A hydrogen-based capacitor, right? Your capacitor is your electric, like your battery, so to speak, right? Fat is a hydrogen, it's nature's hydrogen battery, right? That's how nature produces electricity, right? And then the brother, and we got to start giving some respect to, right? So you got Osiris and Set, right? Electricity and protonicity, right? Electricity and protonicity comes from hydrogen, right? So you have, right, your negative hydrogen ion, your positive hydrogen ion, right? So sometimes, some conversations you'll see, negative hydrogen ion, or you'll see just the E for electron, right? But more times than not, you'll see positive hydrogen ion standing in for proton, right? And that's because when it comes to hydrogen, the proton is the hydrogen nucleus, right? So just so you don't get confused, it's not like, oh, well, I read this book and it said the hydrogen nucleus. There's nothing in a hydrogen nucleus but a single proton. So it's not a different thing. It's just a proton, right? So that's the beauty of hydrogen. Hydrogen has no neutrons, so it has nothing extra sticking. Has no extra glue or attractive force or gravity going on. It just has the electron and the proton. So your body can easily, or cells rather, can easily break the hydrogen atom down and use the subatomic particles. And this is our gateway. That's our gateway into the world of the quantum. That's our gateway into the underworld of Osiris, or the world of Noon, right? The world of Noon, the world of chaos, right? Our ancestors, they came up with Noon and chaos. Modern science that told us not to listen to our ancestors came up with Schrodinger's, principle of uncertainty. Uncertainty principle. We say chaos, they say uncertainty principle. Right? Because uncertainty principle still has the word certainty followed by the word principle. So it sounds like we in control, colonizer mind, we in control. Uncertainty principle. Basically, what it tells you is, what does the uncertainty principle tell you? That is pure chaos going on once you get. So you'd never be sure what exactly is happening. You know half the story. Just like growing up in the neighborhood. You heard what happened on the block. Half, like YouTube now. You know what I'm saying? You get gossip, you heard half the story, but you can't. Right? But fat stores hydrogen. Hydrogen is the energy of the sun, or contains the energy of the sun. This is what's going on inside the sun, right? This is how helium is produced, and other stuff is produced. The heat, the magnetism, all of that stuff that goes on in the sun, like other stars, is driven by hydrogen's activity. Hydrogen's activity, which is the electrons and the protons of hydrogen. The power of the sun is the power of hydrogen, right? So that's where, right? The power of the sun is the power of hydrogen, right? So carbohydrates is immediate food because it's hydrogen in the form of water, which your cells can use right away. Hydrogen in the form of water your cells can use right away. But remember, in order for plants to have seeds, you need to be able to store energy for future use in a seed, right? So we needed to have fats, which would give the ability to store hydrogen indefinitely. Now you can store hydrogen indefinitely, put that in the stash. You know what I'm saying? See my way my checking account set up, you know what I'm saying? Like put that in the account, put that in the tree, you know, save that for later. We remove the oxygen from what we know of as the water molecule, hydrogen and oxygen. We remove the oxygen and just leave the hydrogen bound to carbon. So fats are typically long chains of carbon and hydrogen, right? The carbon is just there to hold the hydrogen. It's just a placeholder. Once you start to metabolize in the fat, the same way you do with carbohydrates, you're going to get rid of the carbon. The carbon is waste. It's the plastic wrapper the food comes in, right? So that's another thing. We don't want to be them people running around saying we on a carbon diet because we carbon people. Like that's not a thing. Carbon is the most trash. It's the waste part of the food. That's literally how we make carbon dioxide, right? We separate the hydrogen from the carbon, use the hydrogen to produce electricity and protonicity, and we get rid of the carbon, right? We attach oxygen to the carbon, carbon becomes carbon dioxide. We get rid of that, right? All right. So fat is a capacitor, right? Then you got different types: saturated, unsaturated, trans fat, visceral fat. Now, the thing with visceral fat is this. If you look up visceral fat, it'll say visceral fat is not saturated fat, right? But if you compare visceral fat to subcutaneous fat, it will say visceral fat is more saturated than subcutaneous fat. So visceral fat is saturated fat, right? And where do you get saturated fat from? The tissues of the animals. Where is visceral fat stored in your body? Deep in the tissue. So my point is, start looking at visceral fat the same way we look at diabetes and carbohydrates, right? The first step to dealing with blood sugar is lowering our consumption of sugar. The first step to controlling visceral fat should be cutting down on your amount of visceral fat that you consume. And when you eat meat, when you get animal meat and you see like the red part is the meat and then you see the white swirly part, what's the fat? That's visceral fat of the animal most times, depending on what part of the body of that animal you get, right? If it's muscle tissue, then it might be subcutaneous, right? But if you into, you know, like all these people getting organ meats and they getting expensive, weird animals, and you know, you might be eating a lot of visceral fat. So we just want to be cognizant of what we're doing, right? That's the difference between red and white, right? Red meat, white meat, right? Slow twitch muscle, fast twitch muscle. Fast twitch muscle is white meat. So when you say, I don't eat red meat no more, what you're saying is, I don't eat the slow twitch muscles of animals anymore. I only consume the fast twitch muscles of animals. That's the white meat. Now think about that. Fast twitch muscle is more powerful. It's what you exercise more of. So it stands to reason that that would be a healthier choice just based on what that muscle tissue means in regular life. When you consume it, right? Now you have a healthier cut, but it's because of what it is, right? All right. All right, so I think I think we I think we did good. Oh, you know what? Yeah, let's do this. While we here, while we on this visceral fat, let's go into this. Let's go into this. How we eliminate the visceral fat. The part of the melanin system that's designed to eliminate visceral fat. All fat, but specifically visceral fat. How does the melanin system, how is the melanin system responsible for getting rid of visceral fat? Okay. So you have this guy. POMC, pro-opiomelanocortin. Yeah, pro-opiomelanocortin, right? And this guy has a few pieces attached to it, right? Endorphins. And then this guy. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, I might be messing up the spelling on something, but I think that's it right there. Right? Now, this guy right here is exclusively designed to liquidate, like a sale, like a clearance sale. They're trying to get rid of all the product. This is a fire sale on fat. That's literally the main job, right? And the reason is because this whole entire POMC unit is anabolic. This whole entire unit is anabolic, right? So melanin stimulating hormone, yes, it's going to stimulate production of more melanin, but it's also going to stimulate the melanocortin receptors. You have 5 different types of melanocortin receptors. Those receptors determine what nutrients get in, right? So no, yeah, this ain't gonna be enough space. This ain't gonna be enough space. Okay. All right, so let's start with POMC, right? Let's go like this. So we could keep it quantum, right? So we could keep it subatomic, right? We're going to start with photons, right? Photons, pigment, right? Photons hit pigment. Then you get POMC, right? Now from here, you're gonna get these guys. Right? You're gonna get these guys, and then these guys are gonna turn into your adrenalines, MCR agonists, right? And then your fat cell clearance. Let me see. Can y'all see this? Okay, yep. Right? That's a whole package. That's a whole package, right? So light, pigment, Palm C. The Palm C provides you with a package, an exercise. This Palm C provides you with heavenly pre-workout. Yeah, heavenly pre-workout. Why is it heavenly pre-workout? Because it has your steroid is in it. So you don't need to get a shot in the booty, right? It has your steroid is already in it because it's going to make your testosterone for you, right? So it's boom, you got your testosterone in it, right? But it's not direct. It got to process through your body. But it has your testosterone in there, right? It has your melanin stimulating hormone is in there. It has your endorphins to kill the pain of the exercise. And even it has the energy. Well, two things. Melanin stimulating hormone is going to free up the carbohydrates, and lipotropin is going to free up the fatty acids. So they're going to work together. Because melanin stimulating hormone is going to activate melanocortin receptors, and the melanocortin receptors is going to get the whole carbohydrate flow going. The glycogen breakdown, the GLUT4 molecules, everything that has to be moved into place so you can start metabolizing carbohydrates. MSH is going to do that by activating melanocortin receptors. Let me see if I know somebody might be watching. Like, what is a melanocortin receptor? What is a melanocortin receptor? Okay, here we go. Google Demons. Google Demons hop right to it. Okay, so I just typed in, nothing crazy, just typed in melanocortin receptors, and this is what I got. Melanocortin receptors are a family of 5 G protein coupled receptors that mediate the actions of melanocortin peptides, right? Influencing various physiological functions like pigmentation, stress response, and adrenal function. And then what we're talking about, right? food intake and energy balance, right? Food intake and energy balance. So it's not even just a matter of like melanin concentrating hormone regulating insulin and glucagon. It's bigger than that, right? Insulin sensitivity. But again, remember, the surgery, the needles, the drugs, all that comes in. Remember, this is why it's always important to remember the foundation of medical school is the church. In the early church program was anti-nature. So you still have like anti-nature algorithms running throughout modern medicine. Even if the practitioners themselves are not, the foundation has these algorithms in there. So it's in the education and it pops up, all over the place. And when you go outside of nature is when you need a crutch. You know what I'm saying? Anything can happen to any of us, no matter how much you exercise or eat good or whatever. But if you go outside the dynamic of how your body is designed, you're going to definitely need something from outside your body's design to help your body to function, to cope. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, there's that. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to have the metabolism of carbohydrates handled by MSH, the metabolism and the freeing up of fatty acids. So you have everything you need here in a pre-workout. Like in the future, this is what they would like. They would like the steroid to do everything. You know what I'm saying? But the steroid doesn't. The steroid can't compete with nature, right? The TRT can't compete with nature because the steroid, the TRT, it just gives you one end product. That end product is supposed to be coupled with a whole bunch of other processes. It's supposed to be coupled with a whole bunch of other processes. And so it's not supposed to only be coupled with other processes, but it's rationed. If you understand what I'm saying, it's rationed with other stuff. So you're going to get so much testosterone as per fat cell stimulation, endorphin production, melanin production, adrenal gland, like everything is going to go, right? Like, so it's like sunlight, you know what I'm saying? When you get the sun, you don't get just one type of light. You get depending on what time you go outside and where you live, you get a spectrum. Every time of the day, there's a different fruit punch of light that the sun gives you, right? A certain amount of UVB, UVA, UVC, visible, infrared. Then even in infrared, it's like short, medium, long range, all of these different types of light that all behave differently when they hit your body, or they all create different responses when they hit your body, right? What, depending on what time you go out there, is a different recipe. It's a different recipe. You go out there early, 7, 8 o'clock, it's a lot of blue light. You go out there closer to 6 in the evening, sunset, you're getting closer to red. You know what I'm saying? Like that's changing the spectrum. That change in the spectrum is supposed to be tied to your activity, right? That's why you're supposed to eat your heavier meals in blue light. You're supposed to eat your heavier meals in blue light. And those heavier meals are supposed to have X amount of fat, soluble, vitamin, and this and that, and blah, 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 blah. All right. Now, inside this program, right, from here, right, you have right? With your adrenalines, you have your epinephrine, right? And norepinephrine. Right? You got your epinephrine, norepinephrine, and then you go, well, I guess we can get rid of this. Yeah. Right? Actually, let's just get rid of all this. These are the main two stars of the show. Right? These are the main two stars of the show. Why? Because in the dopamine book, aka the dementia book, we talk a lot about dopamine, right? We talk a lot about dopamine and norepinephrine, right? Because dopamine and norepinephrine both become neuromelanin, right? So again, the melanin system is anabolic. Dopamine and norepinephrine are your primary catecholamines for neuromelanin. It just so happens that the other thing they do is break down visceral fat. Break down visceral fat. So 2 + 2 equals, or better yet, if P then Q, right, Paul? If P then Q. Go get the If P then Q book. If you don't already have the If P then Q book, go to Amazon, add it to your cart, check out. If P then Q. Dopamine, norepinephrine, primary catecholamines that produce neuromelanin, right? So that makes them the primary players in dementia and some other issues, right? But these are also the guys that get rid of visceral fat. So let's put that together. Low levels of dopamine and norepinephrine, right? Low levels of catecholamines translates to low levels of neuromelanin. Lower levels of neuromelanin translates to dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's in my brain. It also translates to perivascular fat in my brain. Yeah, because there's a type of fat, like the brain has its own, visceral fat. So catecholamine is supposed to keep that gone. You're not supposed to have no so just because the brain is made out of fat doesn't mean all fat in the brain is good for brain function. The brain can build up pockets of nasty, toxic, fat. And it's those pockets of fat that helps the herpes stay in your brain. Look at your face. It helps the herpes stay in your brain. Yeah, herpes likes to stay in your brain. Yeah, your brain got to lose weight. Listen to this. Your brain has to lose weight in order to get the herpes out. Like, hold up. You just, this just got crazy real quick. Your brain has to lose weight in order to get the herpes out. So let's go here first. Let's just go here real quick first. Right? Just so you see what I'm saying. Just so you see what I'm saying. Right? Just so you see what I'm saying. Right? Yeah, just because you stop getting outbreaks on your, just because you stop getting outbreaks on your program, that don't mean, yeah, you might be finished with herpes, but herpes may not be finished with you. Just saying. I told you, you got to get your monthly detox kit every month. Stop thinking you could skip. All right, play around if you want. Right? So I'm just telling you. I'm just trying to tell you. Go on and get your, you're supposed to get what you're supposed to get now. All right, now see this? Perivascular fat is the adipose tissue that surrounds blood vessels to provide structural support and act as a metabolically active endocrine and paracrine component. While perivascular fat surrounds most blood vessels in the body, including the brain's vasculature, right? Keep that in mind. Its structure and function differ depending on its location. Perivascular fat is a critical component of vascular health, regulating vascular tone, inflammation, and pathogenesis of cardiovascular disease. Okay, now, why that's important is because we have been studying perivascular fat for a long time. We just discovered the glymphatic system. The glymphatic system is the vascular system in the brain, particularly lymph vessels, which are usually juxtaposition, parallel, side by side with the blood vessels, right? So again, there's a level to a healthy amount of fat, healthy fats, right? Healthy fats and then healthy amount of fat in general. And then there's out of place fat, excess fat. Your brain's not immune. Your vascular system's not immune to this. So now that we understand the lymphatic system, there are pockets of fat and things that clog these vessels. This is why, you know, Jamie Foxx is not the only person that had a brain bleed. There's a lot of people suffer from brain bleeds. You know what I'm saying? I might have one. You might have one. You know what I'm saying? God forbid, though. But, you know, strokes, you know, aneurysms, all of these different things, a lot of times they're caused by pressure building up in the system, right? From some sort of blockage. The blockage, so here's the thing. The blockage, though, it doesn't have to be local to the rupture, right? It doesn't have to be local to the rupture. You know what I'm saying? So where the vessel gets blocked up doesn't necessarily mean where the vessel busts, the pipe breaks. It doesn't mean that that's where the blockage was, right there where the pipe breaks all the time. You know what I'm saying? That's applying plumbing science to the body. The body doesn't work like that. So that's why it's confusing, because there's a lot of plumbing science in medical science. You know what I'm saying? But the body doesn't work like that. So you can have a backup somewhere, anywhere, and then a rupture somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, let's go. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. I appreciate y'all for helping me keep the lights on, man. Yeah, man. Everybody who helping to keep the lights on. You know what I'm saying? And I just like when I see Osborne done showed up when woo! A Q&A on the Melanin is Anabolic book. Man, okay, let's do this. Hold on. See, this is what I'm talking about. When Thanos and Osborne show up, they be trolling me. Thanos and Osborne be trolling. These are people that keep me inspired. All right, so let's do this. Let's set a time for it, even though it's not really setting a time, but we're going to set a loose time for it because I like this idea. I like this idea. Thanos be on time. All right, so let's go because we're supposed to have a midterm, right? And so midterm is... Did we go week 9 with midterm? Did we go week 9? Or did we go week 8? Okay, because I know we got the lymphatic system actually in week 9. So let's go. Yep. So the end of week 8 is midterm, right? So let's, all right, we're moving into week 7 right now. So let's set it up for either this weekend or next weekend. let's do it like that, right? So let's do the live Q&A for week 8, day 3. Let's do the live Q&A for week 8, day 3. Yeah, that'll be dope. So we can have Thanos. We can have Thanos and Kelvin. Because Thanos and Kelvin going to come in here and they're going to say something I don't even know about. Yeah, they're going to come in and say something I don't even know about. So that'll be dope right before the, like for midterm. You know what I'm saying? To give everybody like more clarity, more understanding. I'll try to get Tanai even to come in for that day. Tanai is he does medicine on Tuesday nights with us in Hotepistan. Tuesday nights Tanai does, and he's a PhD. He's somebody that I influenced as a student, and then he went on to get his PhD in biochemistry. So now me and him like sharing a platform is crazy for me. You know what I'm saying? But he has another perspective. He has another perspective. You know, he can go crazy with some of this information. So that might be a dope idea. Are you still in there? Because I know sometimes it takes me a while to get around to answering the chat. No, we did the prayer already. Remember, we did the prayer a little bit early. I know noon came around, but we did the prayer like 11:30, 11:45 or something like that. We did the prayer a little bit early, so that way we didn't have to stop at 12 o'clock and do the prayer. But yeah, shout out to my man Osborne. You could definitely have too many. That is a certified big fact. Yeah. Be careful. Yeah, definitely be careful. But definitely add them joints in there. You know what I'm saying? But just, 2-3 Brazil nuts is good. Yeah, 2-3. Definitely less is more with the Brazil nuts. Yeah, we don't want to go crazy with the Brazil nuts. Less is definitely more with the Brazil nuts. All right, so I think that I done wrote it down inside my book. So we're going to do it week 8, day 3. So now I got something. So now we're going to work towards that. Right? We're going to work towards that. And midterm assignment is inside the book. It's on page 276. Right? It's on page 276. So you definitely kind of need your book to do the midterm. Right? And, I know some of y'all, whatever, you got excuses you're working with. Just know you can't get the Melanin Health certification without handing in your midterm and doing your final, your final assessment, because this is a real course and certification. Right? It is a real course and certification. So for those of you just trying to get the info, steal a drip, do your thing. But for the people who are looking to actually get that certification, that they understand Melanin Health certification You need to actually complete the midterm and the final. So week 8 will definitely be this week if I can keep. But you know what? Here's the thing. Here's what I noticed, right? Here's what I noticed. When I do more videos more rapidly, I get less views on the videos. If I do like more than 3 or 4 videos a week, the views go down. If I do like 2 to 3 videos, maybe sometimes 4 might be pushing it. But if I do like 3 videos a week, we get a good participation. You know what I'm saying? We get good participation. So, you know, I'm trying to go as fast as y'all, you know, think it's like a class. You know, I learned this from being a student and then from having my own school and being a teacher. You know, there's benefits to, there's benefits to teaching to the slowest portion of the class and to the fastest portion of the class. But you can't speak directly to everybody all the time. You know what I'm saying? So we got to find our happy medium. But the beauty with this is it's books. You know what I'm saying? It's a book-driven course. So you can go grab the book and then you're there. You can go grab the book and then you're there. Right? And then we got a couple of different books. Right? We got a couple of different books. But the main book, right? Make sure you have the main book. So, what else? We had a lot of feedback from our little debate corner, from our little debate clip. We had a little nice little feedback from that debate clip. I didn't know that God Logic has so many health fans. Yeah, I think that a lot of people are fans of him just because he's the black guy in all of these arguments. We are enamored with that, and I'm sure that I benefit from that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not knocking the hustle, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure that I've benefited from the fact that we like to see brothers sounding intelligent. You know what I'm saying? It's a good thing. It's a beautiful thing. You know what I'm saying? We should, hopefully we get more brothers to try to articulate themselves more eloquently. But that doesn't mean like, because I'm a LeBron James fan, that I can't tell when LeBron is taking an L. You know what I'm saying? I could be a Kyrie fan and still be like, I think Steph might have busted his, I think Steph might have got him that night, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think it blinds. I don't think it blinds you to. Sometimes it does, but I think because he's debating all these Muslim guys and European white guys, and I think a part of the fandom is the fact that it's a black guy looking smart going up against all kinds of other people, right? And so our pride may blind us to the fact that he doesn't know what he's talking about all the time. Yeah, we got to watch when that creeps in. You know what I'm saying? We got to watch when the fandom creeps in and be like, yo, he don't know what he's talking about. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't know what he's talking about. Like we gotta be careful. You know what I'm saying? So it's good to support the brothers and all that. I'm with it. But we got to be mindful that we know what we're talking about. And, you know, just going back to what I was saying before, because I guess we got to start Bible study back up. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of conversations that people want to have, more advanced conversation, because the conversation is limited. And I do feel partially responsible because, like I said, you know, shout out to Sai and HOK, but I was a part of the foundation of the online religious debates. You know what I'm saying? And so I kind of feel like responsible to put some science back in, you know, even if I don't do that with Sa, you know, because I'm not really a fan of what Sa got going on right now. And not anything crazy. So I don't want y'all to start speculating and be like, oh, Inky beef with Sa. No. I just don't like how Sa got the young guys on there. You know what I'm saying? Like some of the young guys that he has on there. I'm not a fan of. Back in the days, he only had the polished cream of the crop. You know what I'm saying? Now he got like the subs. What are you doing with these guys? What are you doing with these guys? You know what I'm saying? But no. Shout out to him because it's grown the space where people are having these arguments and debates and discussions. I just think that there's a glass ceiling on religious discussion if there's no scientific driver to it or any real life application besides mystical or belief centered ideology, right? Because there's a place where those things work if we're just talking about morals and helping you to be like, you know, socially a better person. But our ancestors did not spend hundreds of years, thousands of years creating spiritual systems, protecting, dying, fighting over spiritual systems for 10 commandments or 42 laws of Ma'at. You know what I'm saying? Like it's way bigger, way deeper, way more important than that. And so those are the kinds of conversations I want to have. Right, wrong, or different. You know what I'm saying? I want to have those conversations. Those are more important. Those stretch people's minds. You know what I'm saying? Baptist, Christian, Jew, Israelite, whatever. Just the regular stuff is ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is the Injil? What is the Injil? What is the Injil? Like, that's foolishness. You know what I'm saying? But I might have to do a video on what is the Injil. You know what I'm saying? We have to have some of those conversations. But yeah, get ready. Midterms coming soon.
This is why you have to go to Amazon and get the book, Rich Abs, Poor Abs, now.